Hello and welcome to Sidequest. This is our weekly video game show here at Geekverse. I am your host, Dylan Muss, and I have with me the Banana Man, Travis Snell. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm good. We're going to be talking about a certain ape later. Very excited.
You say that in a coy way as if we're not, we're talking about Nintendo.
Yeah.
We know what ape we're talking about.
Donkey Kong. I just feel like we've many times talked about, oh man, when they're working on that new Donkey Kong game. And, today's the day we got to talk about it. So I'm excited.
It's finally happened. Yeah, this Sidequest episode coming out a little bit early because, of course, there's a big Nintendo Switch 2 Direct all about the system and showing off a bunch of games, hour-long, full of juice. That orange is squeezed thin, so we're going to break it all down. And that's it. That's it for today. It's when you got a topic this good, it's all you need for one episode. But what is there to show? I don't know, join the Patreon. You get episodes early and ad-free. Help us afford a Switch 2 by supporting us over on Patreon.
It's a lot of patrons, apparently.
Yeah,
especially that Canadian price.
You can leave a review. You can join our Discord where we're always talking about the Switch 2 and other announcements as they're happening live and all that fun stuff. We did 2 newscasts this week. We covered Daredevil. So there's a million things going on in the feed. You can just subscribe. Go check that stuff out. If you're joining us on YouTube, I mean, this is the rare Sidequest live. So you can, if you're in the chat, let us know if you got any questions or thoughts on the Direct. I'll try and bring them in here when we can. We're going to go through this Direct in order, and then kind of at the end, we'll talk about some of the price stuff and some of those final discussions. But first off, Travis, I want you to give me 2 numbers out of 5. One, how as we kind of review the E3 shows back in the day and stuff like that, just your out of 5 rating. I want 2. I want just your objective, how good do you think the show was, and then your personal hype level, just completely separate. You know what I mean?
Show-wise, I think I could probably give it a 5. I think usually I guess there was at the end. I always said before in the E3 days, a 5, there was always a bias there where I needed that to have a stand-up moment, something that I personally love, right? I did get that at the end, but sometimes a show is just so good and well-paced, you got to do this. I think for the most part, maybe, I don't even think so, but maybe when you got some of the third developers, you could have even shorten that a little bit, but I think they were just trying to get across of how many games they have. When in the past we've had that, I always bring about the wonderful 101 or 2 or whatever. Think about that Wii U launch. There's been many launch lineups where not even just the lack of Nintendo games, just lack of games. And I think they're making sure hey, this time that's not going to be an issue. I think the pacing was really good. I think there is decisions, and that's where my overall excitement. I think I'm it sounds bad, but I'm probably a 3 because I have I think I've said this before, even with the rumors and everything. I think this is great for a certain crowd, and that crowd particularly is the handheld crowd, which I don't ever play. I've used it a couple times. I think there's also some pricing stuff, both games and consoles that are, whether it's real world or not, it's just that's kind of a bummer. And then there's the one game, but there's nothing where it's not a massive lineup, even Mario Kart, which I love. I'm excited to play it. I'll have it day one. I'm excited. Me and talking about that, where that'll probably be what the kids play first as far as their Mario Kart game. But it's not for me a system seller where I'm oh, I got it. It's kind of the Smash thing where it's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's it's older, but it's still a great game. Same with the Mario parties. It's they don't automatically change a bunch of things. So I think that's where I am. It's kind of a 3. It's not a need. It's more so the only reason I particularly I'm close to buying it day one. It's just for that one game, but I'm holding off because there's just I talked about my game plan this year. I want to play older games. I'm playing Doom this year, or Doom, and then I'm going to play Death Stranding, and even then, Death Stranding is very close to when this comes out. So
yeah, same.
That's where I am but show wise, I think they did a phenomenal job.
I think I'm in a very similar place as you, where I would give, on my objective side of things, I think I would give it a 5. We had 1 hour full of stuff. I think it moved at a really good pace. There's a couple points that do sort of drag, but it's technical things that you kind of need to go through in a thing like this. We really got the full showcase of the console, but I still think there are some fun things they held back. We don't know what the UI looks like at all, and so I'm curious if it's just because it's the exact same as the Switch, or if that's something that they leave and they can show off down the road.
No, we do know what it looks like.
Really?
Yeah, there's images of it. It looks exactly like the Switch with a few
Okay,
chain
maybe there
cause a
was even some
change.
shots in here. Maybe I just didn't clock
No,
it
it came
because it looked the
after.
same.
It came
Oh,
after the
okay.
fact. Like I think because people got their hands on it today, like other gamers and
Oh, okay.
whatnot.
I know there was the treehouse stuff, and I didn't watch. I watched a
Yeah.
bit of the Metroid treehouse thing.
So it's very similar. The
Okay,
square boxes, stuff like that. So that's
gotcha.
one thing. It is kind of not moving too far past, which is probably not a
Hmm.
bad thing for them. So
Right. Well, yeah. It shows off a bunch of the hardware and new things, which is it's a mixed bag for me. Where it's like there are like the console's more powerful than I thought it would be, but then like also some of the new features I don't really care about. I'm not gonna like
hmm
use at all. So it's like a little bit of a mixed bag there. In terms of the games, though, I think like that's what Nintendo is all about. That's why people buy these consoles, not because they're the most powerful. This one is pretty freaking powerful. It's for the games, and I think they had a really good showing there. First party stuff, great support from the third party things as well. Whether that's just like games that are already released or just like upcoming things that are going to be coming to this day one or same day, whatever it is, that sort of stuff. So I think it was a really good showcase in that way. And then on my personal hype level, I think I'd go a little bit higher than you. I'd go with a four out
okay.
of five. A little bit more here on the hype side for me. I think a couple things I didn't expect, like day one, like GameCube, for example, which we'll talk about, is really cool.
Right.
I
Yes.
I think for me on the it's it might be unfair to Nintendo, but I think in terms of the personal hype level thing, and if you don't have Smash in there, I don't think I'll ever hit a five. I just
Oh, what? I know
I
you
don't
love
know.
Smash, but like, never. There's nothing else in the Nintendo Rolodex that'll make you hit a
because
five.
because you could always do more is I guess the thing. You could
Okay.
be at a 4.9, but it's like okay, you could get me more hyped by being by throwing in the Smash there, just because that is my favorite game series of all time.
That's fair. Yeah.
And they have hype trailers, and it's always exciting for me to see what's
Wow.
next in that series. So maybe that's
Okay.
not true, but this was not quite there for me on terms of the 5 out of 5. But like I'd maybe even go to 4.5. I think it was really really solid. A lot of hype things in there. So yeah, let's just get right into it then. First off, they showed off a bunch of Mario Kart World. So this is the new Mario Kart 9. And yeah, there's a lot of little things in here, but I think that overall, like the main selling point for this is that it's like open world Mario Kart now, where
Yes.
there's kind of like one large overworldy sort of map. You can go in a free roam mode and just like go explore and look for things. I don't know if there's like quests or it doesn't seem like it. It seems like you just kind of can find like shortcuts and things like
Yeah.
that. Maybe
I
you
bet they might
unlock
put some
characters.
Yeah, I bet they'll put some unlockables there and stuff. Like
Yeah, that makes
drive
sense.
around this tree or
Collect
something like that.
coins, things
Yeah.
like that. So you can go get your unlocks. But then like also with that is in between races now in a Grand Prix, still 4 maps, but you'll also drive from map 1 to map 2 and then 2 to 3 and so on and so forth. And then there's a couple other modes in there as well. But that's kind of the main big selling point. And yeah, I feel like people were talking so much about Mario Kart and I'm like, oh, what is it going to do differently? What is like the new selling feature? Like, it can go back to like the double dash kind of thing. What are they going to do? And I
Yeah.
think I didn't hear a lot of people theorizing about like open worldy type thing. I don't think people really expected that. And yeah, so how's your like how does that hit you? Like, what's your first impression of like that kind of being the big new selling point of this game?
Yeah, for me, as just Travis Snell, does absolutely nothing. He didn't sell me at all. Like, I think that's a cool feature. That's very fun. Like, oh, because they spend lots of time on these maps. So I think that's just there is a even sense of nostalgia of like if there's some classic maps in there. It's a very niche
Yeah.
thing, but it is very cool. So I'll definitely do that. For Travis the parent, we thought, oh, that's awesome because that's a great way to start. Instead of you got to always throw them in a race, that's exactly how we'll start. Because they even said in the directive, like, oh, people that aren't wanting the competitive, don't get me wrong, we're throwing these kids in the race. It's gonna happen, but that's kind of a cool thing where it's like, okay, you can just get here and just even do the controls. Like, it's a much better than a tutorial or saying, oh, this button does this, whatnot. And plus, they might just want to. That might be a great mode for kids where it's like we don't want to race, but we do. We just want to explore the world and drive. So I think it's a very cool feature, but it's nothing that I would. I'll be getting this Mario Kart because I've not bought Mario Kart in a long time. I didn't get Mario Kart 8 or. Maybe we did. I don't know. Maybe we did. I can't. We
Did you
might
buy that on
have.
the Wii U? Maybe.
I think I bought it on the Wii U. Maybe that's
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah. So it's been a while, but that game's been out for a long time. So, and whether it's the bundle, so I will get this, but nothing in here. I was kind of hoping for more something like you allude to, like a double dash, where it's like, oh, that's something very cool gameplay wise. But it just seems like there's some cool features in here. There's that other like race mode that seems kind of fun, where it's like you got to get to this checkpoint at a certain time, and
Yeah,
if you're
Knockout Tour is the name of
yeah,
that one.
yeah, that seemed fun too. So yeah, again, didn't seem like this is awful, just same old, but nothing where it'd be like a day one, especially with the game prices where they are. But it's something that when I get the Switch 2, it'll be there. So which
Mhm.
I'll talk about later. So.
How long do you think it'll take to drive from map to map, like on average? Like, is it like a 30 seconds kind of thing, or is it like 3 minutes?
I feel like it's gonna vary, but I feel like I feel like I'd put an average time of like 45 to a minute 20 between all the maps.
Okay.
That's my prediction. I feel like because you can maybe be a little longer in some maps, maybe some are just gonna be a quick zoom right over. But I feel like that I don't think they want to make it too tedious. Maybe
Do you think
like
you can skip that?
I would say yes, but Nintendo lots of times makes things where it's like this would be obvious to skip this, right? um, I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no as well, because
Yeah.
I can't tell if it does anything for you. Like, I don't know if that, like, because traditionally in other Mario Karts, like, your position in your previous race or your overall ranking, I guess, determines where you start the map next time. But I don't know if, like, oh, if you're the first one to get to the next map, now you, like, I guess everyone races, they finish the race,
Yeah, so their
and
stand
then you
should be
all
the
start
same.
driving at the same time to that next map. It's not like, oh, I've done the race, I did my third lap, but like some guys way back on lap 2, I don't start driving to the next map at this point,
No.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems strange. That it seems like one of those things of like, okay, I don't think they ever used the term like SSD in the way that like PlayStation always touts that in terms of like but they did talk about like, oh, the load times are going to be much faster on this. The cartridge is much
Yes. I
faster,
hope.
and so it seems like maybe that's part of that is like, oh, we rather than like having this big load screen between the maps, how cool is this that you can seamlessly just like drive from the map all the way to the next one without like any actual loading screen. So
Mhm.
yeah, I guess that's part of the selling point there. And I was gonna say like I kind of like having a little break in between races, but I guess if you finish first, you still get a little break while everyone else is finishing up,
Yeah.
and then you can all drive there together. So I don't know, not the biggest selling point for me. I think for me it was more like the minutia of like little things in this that seem really cool. Like we finally have like costumes in a Mario Kart. Maybe Tour had that, I don't know, but like have different costumes, I think is fun. Like they've had like, oh, Tanuki Mario and like Metal Mario are a separate
Yeah.
character, but now it seems they didn't actually show those ones, but like you can just have fun little different costumes for your characters. Like those will be fun to unlock and use those. 24 racers, hell yeah, that's great. Have a lot more
Yeah.
people because like now this console's a little more powerful. There was like a burger power up, and I don't know if that was like just a map specific thing, but it turns Mario into like a different costume.
Mhm.
So I don't know what's going on there, but I'm curious about that. You can like grind on rails. There's like wall riding and like wall jumps and cool stuff like that. So it seems like the movement will just have a little bit more variety there as well. They talked about how there's like time of day and like weather effects, which is something that like the Animal Crossing map had that in Mario Kart 8, but now I don't know if it's gonna be like based on like real world time of day or real world season or whatnot. It'll probably be random, but I think that's a really
Yeah.
cool thing. Like each of the maps will just feel like they have a little bit more variety in that way. And I don't know if like, oh, it's snowing now, so now it's like a little bit more slick than it normally is. But I think that's a really cool feature. I wanted to get, because as someone who loves Diddy Kong Racing, I feel like they've had this before where like you go into like your hover mode and yeah, you had your like parachute in Mario Kart 8, but now it seems like you're kind of have like a bit of a full on plane. And then I saw like Daisy was in a boat, there was a
Yeah.
snowmobile. Like I don't think you pick like, a plane for a race in the way Diddy Kong has it, but it seems like a little bit closer to that in terms of your vehicle will actually change either based on the map or just like the section of the map. What do you think about that?
I like that because that's which they're probably smart to not call this like Mario Kart 9 or whatnot. It's smart to call it World. Like the thing is, it's perfected pretty much. So there's only so few things you can change about Mario Kart game, right? Like even that's where it's like I want a double dash, but it's like I understand when they sit down and go like, what could we do? And go, oh, well, we haven't done this before. So the same thing of like even I think it was 8 when they started to introduce like you could change the different wheels and the different wings, right? Like you could really create
Yeah,
your
maybe
vehicle.
7,
Maybe
the
7,
3DS
yeah.
one, but yeah, I think you're right.
Somewhere in there, right? So I think this is just another step of let's give people more options because you can make more tracks, but like you can't really. I'm sure there's always a new character too you can add, but the base group is there, right? Like there's a niche audience that always like, oh, they're a dry bones guy or they want this boo or whatnot. But most people are fine if they're just gonna play at the main Mario family. So like you can't change that. You're not bringing in other characters from different franchises like a Smash. You can't even change it that way. You can do the items as well. Like I saw one item where Toad was looking massive. Like he got some sort, and he was just running over people. I like that. So
Hell yeah.
no, I enjoy that. And yeah, you're right with the plain vibes. I got a little bit of Diddy Kong because yeah, I'm a big fan of that game. But I think that's smart because again, that's one of the few things you can add on. It's like, okay, what more can we do with vehicles? And here we are.
Yeah, and then as you mentioned, like it's okay. It seems like we in the past, especially Mario Kart 8, like we got a ton of maps from previous games. That was like the whole point of the DLC, is bringing in all those other maps. And so like I'm guessing every Mario Kart has that where like half the courses are new, half the courses are remakes, remasters, or just straight up the one from a previous game. And so it seems like we are getting some of those. Like I saw like a Moo Moo Meadows, which is a classic one from N64. But like it seems like it's maybe kind of integrated into the overall world now, right? Because everything has to be part of this world, and so it seems like maybe they even add elements to it. So I'm kind of excited to see which ones they take and remake and integrate into the world part of it. I mean, mostly I feel like what I was seeing here was straight up new maps, which is cool too. I really like some of the themes that we had going on there. So curious to see how that works because it is fun to have some of those original ones in there.
Oh yeah, you have to. Yeah,
but also like. I can just play Mario Kart 8 on the Switch 2 and like access almost every single map that's ever been made. So it's like I don't really need them to be in here too, I guess. And who knows? They'll probably do like DLC for this game for years, like they did for Mario Kart 8 as well, right? So,
especially because it's a launch game for Switch 2, and I feel like it's gonna be getting stuff for almost the entire run of the console lifespan of this. I imagine so.
Although it could be harder for them because they really trickled out that DLC. And now since they have the world element of it, maybe it's harder to do that because you have to make like a huge open world and like do you stick it on like Pangea style onto this continent or like what do we how do we integrate it
like
all?
Another section of there's a bridge, there's a body of water, whatever that you click on. So
and then always fun to see some new characters in there. Obviously, we have 24 racers now. I guess they've had over 24 in the past, but it's fun to see some new people in there. Like you have the cow from Moo Moo Meadows is now a racer, which I love. I think that's super fun because that's just one of my favorite maps of all time. You have like the bee character from Galaxy. You have like the guy who like shoots the spike out of his mouth and like throws it at people. The spiny, I think they're called, like little red guys. So you get like a little bit more of the freak show characters, which I always love to see in there. And then hopefully you have like all the it seems like you have most of the standard ones. I don't know if I saw like my boy Dry Bones in there, but it's cool that there's like it seems like there's quite a few new characters and like there was already a lot in Mario Kart 8, so it's cool that they're somehow finding little corners of the Mushroom Kingdom that we haven't had playable characters from.
Well, you have to at this point too. Like I said, there's no major characters left, so you got to go for the weirdos, like you said. So
exactly. So this game is getting a dedicated direct on April 17th, where we're going to see more about it. I feel like I saw everything I needed to see about this, but I'm curious to see what other details they have in there as well. One thing I was really curious about when I theorized this, I think on a cast with Taylor, is this was before it was confirmed that there was mouse controls as a functionality for the Switch 2. And I was like, okay, if Mario Kart 8 is going, or if Mario Kart 9, because that's what we saw in that first trailer thing, we saw that game in there. I'm like, it's probably gonna be a launch title. Whatever their launch title is going to be, they want to have mouse controls being a function of it. And I didn't see anything in here that seemed like it would have mouse controls to it. So maybe that's something they say for the April 17th directive, like you can drive the mouse around. I theorized back then that maybe it was like a map maker kind of thing. I think with the world part of it, maybe that's harder to do since everything's supposed to be interconnected. So I don't know. Do you have any theory off the top of your head of like how they could use a mouse functionality in this game?
I wonder if it'd be awkward, but could there be something like with the items, like if you were to shoot a shell, because I feel like that's too hard to do at the same time. But if you shoot a shell and you're like directing it at a certain location, you could just do that with your sticks, though, right?
Rather than the red shell, like you have to actually like guide it with your mouse.
Yeah, which that could be too much to happen at once, right? You're driving, trying to focus, and you're also in the shell. So I thought maybe items, but that's really like maybe some directional stuff like when you're flying, but I don't know if there's much for this game you can really do that unless there's something in the open world stuff we don't know about, right? Like just little some new
Right.
changes or way you can move. So that's something I'll reserve judgment for because that could make sense where we don't know how that works at Sandbox. So
Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, we'll only have to wait a couple more weeks to get more info on this game. Um, there's another thing with this game. I'll leave it for later, though. I guess the release date, though, for this is launch date with the Switch, which is June 5th, as I'm sure everyone on the internet has seen at this point. So coming up very soon. We'll talk about
yeah,
that more in a little bit, though. Moving on to, I guess, some features and hardware stuff. This is the next sequence here. So some of the basic, I guess, new features. So the Joy-Con 2 has a C button on it, which I don't know if they said what it stands for. It stands for like communication.
chat. I thought it was.
Is it chat? Yeah, the chat button. Yeah,
It's
you're
chat,
right.
Yeah.
So this is lets you connect with your friends and set up voice calls or set up like these video calls and other things. And then, along with that, there's like a microphone built into the Switch, which apparently can hear you from across the room, even if your roommate is ripping up a smoothie in the background. So cool. Right on. It's pretty much Discord integrated into your Switch, which, this is one of the things where it's like, I could not care less. I would be surprised if I ever clicked that button once, other than just like see what it does.
Or
but like I will
accidentally.
use Discord, or most of the time if I'm playing, like I don't really play online Mario Kart with my friends. I mostly play in person. So maybe we could do a Patreon game night or something using the chat button or
chat,
something.
yeah.
But I think we'd probably just use StreamYard or Discord. So it's just one of those things. Like Nintendo is always behind the times on certain things, specifically like online internet type features, and this is one of those things where it's like this is the least exciting for me. This is like the Switch trailer with like them being on the rooftop playing with their
Yes.
friends. This is like that moment of this direct for me.
Yeah, it's this is definitely just like, and we'll talk about this more at the end with the price and the day and everything like that, because I'm very curious how this is going to do. This is very much we're just happy to have a Switch that's more powerful. So what could we add? And it's like, well, we could add this chat feature, and it's like, even not even Discord, to me, it's like we had this in 2004 with PlayStation 2 and Xbox 360. It's like obviously those were very dated, and so it's refined now, so much easier. But it's just like, this is probably, I'd have to see them all, right? But I think I could probably say the bullet at least top 3 of most useless things a console's ever provided at the time, right? Because if you 10 years ago, even 15, would have said, "Oh yeah, Nintendo's got a chat option," that makes sense. But it's like, once COVID happened, there's like all the time on our podcast we talk about our parents or the GA and stuff like that. But when COVID happened, people learned how to use Skype and Zoom and Discord, all that stuff, right? That made everybody go, "Oh, I need to do this," because whether it was talking with family or just stuff like doing game nights, watching a movie, and it's like, oh, I got to do this. Same thing with us. We had to learn how to cast. Like, we went through many things of OBS and Zoom and Google Hangouts. All like, I've never done a Google Hangout before and all this stuff. So COVID kind of changed that for everybody. So I just feel like this is like the worst time to introduce. Where like we all know how to do this. Like I don't think my grandma actually knows how to, but just the expression like my grandma knows how to do this. So I will never.
And everyone has a phone everyone had a
Yes.
phone like 10 years ago, and now
Yes.
everyone has a phone, even
Yeah.
if you're like 5 years old.
Yeah, I'll never use this. It's cool that you can have like add a little video next to your character and some stuff. I thought it's very strange of like and you can show what's on your screen. It's like, how am I going to be looking at the game and looking at that? Just useless feature.
Does Gwen have a cell phone yet?
No.
When is she gonna have a cell phone? Have you thought about that? Have you talked about that with anyone?
I think we haven't really talked about, but I think it will probably go to the point once they start walking to school or busing without us dropping
Right.
them off. I think because to keep in contact of where are you, home and stuff like that, to find my phone. So we want to avoid it, even with iPads and games. Like we have other family members where it's like their kids are on all the time. Like they get time limits, and it's usually like an hour and a half or something. They got to earn it. We're not those parents that, you're home. And even then Gwen wants to buy her own iPad, but we've told her like, if you buy your own iPad, that doesn't mean it's just you. Like there's still time limits. We don't want people pulling there. So yeah, they will have limits, but yeah, the phone will come probably next few years. I'd probably more the end of elementary school, I bet.
Yeah, fair enough. So another hardware thing that they're selling day one here is the camera, a camera feature which connects with this chat thing. I guess if you want to use this with the chat, like for this chat feature stuff, you need Nintendo Switch Online. Although they said that there's like that's not going to be the case until April of next year. So they're
Yeah.
giving like pretty much a year or like 9 months, whatever, of runtime for people to try out these features, these online features, and the webcam thing where you can see your friends on the screen and whatnot. Uh, so anyway, that's a new thing as well. And then lastly, or not lastly, but another thing here in this section is Game Share, which is a new feature where if you are I don't know if you have to be on the same internet connection or just like locally Bluetooth. Not sure how it's connected, but if you are in the room with someone else who has a Switch and you own a game like Mario Kart, your friend doesn't own Mario Kart, you can game share it with them. So you can, I guess, stream. I guess they would be streaming it. I don't think they would
Yeah.
like be sitting there downloading it for 2 hours and then playing together, right? So yeah, you can play a game locally together. I guess the use case for this is if you don't have a TV or like I'm trying to think of what game specifically, but
Yeah.
when this came up, I was like, I can't think of a single use case for me to ever use this feature.
No, because it's just like, why wouldn't you just link up the controllers to the Switch you have, and we just play that way?
Right? Yeah. So,
Odd
I don't
Nintendo
know.
feature. Yeah.
So blasting past from that stuff, now we get into some of the more actually juicy things that I cared about more, which is, and we kind of knew some of this already, but of course, this Switch is bigger. They said it has about double the pixels, which is, it's always, when you have like a tall glass and a short glass, and it's always, our depth. Sometimes we can't understand object permanence. Babies can't understand that kind of stuff. I was like, wow, it's double the pixel. That's actually kind of crazy. Or maybe it said almost double. Whatever it is, the screen is quite a bit bigger. There's a lot more screen there, so that's cool. And like the whole thing is bigger. Like even like the control sticks are a bit bigger. The S and R, SL, R, whatever buttons are a little bit bigger, which that's great for me because when I saw that initial trailer and it was the same Joy-Con, and I was like, I hate these controllers. They literally give me hand pain. I'm maybe a little bit more convinced that these will be a bit better just because the buttons are a bit bigger, a little bit more adult-like. So maybe that'll feel a bit better in my hands, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to blast through a lot of these things and you can pick out the things that are interesting to you. This thing can do up to 120 FPS.
Mhm.
Insane. I did not expect that at all. Considering some of the games on Switch One were struggling to do 30, I thought like just clean 60 was where we're going. So shocked to see that 120 FPS in handheld mode for some of these things. Crazy. Better screen, HDR, all that. It's still LCD, but it's a better screen, is what they say.
Yeah.
Rather than having the janky like sliders, now we have the magnetic connections.
Thank God. So
Yes,
that's
thank God.
that's probably my biggest thing because that's how you charge them, right? So, and I live in
Right.
a household where we're 4 to 5 people playing. You're charging these when one's off, one's not, and especially because same thing. I'm imagine like many other people in the world. I have mine in a TV stand, so there's a door.
Yeah.
It's not just out in the open just for safety reasons. So it'd be so nice when I have my little cubby and I just go in there and snap and unsnap and stuff like that. And oh, good.
Yeah, just like I can't tell you the amount of times where I've gone to pull the Joy-Cons out of my Switch or like, sync someone else's Joy-Cons onto my Switch, but then because of the slider and thing, it like pulls the Switch out of the docks, then it kicks it off the TV for a minute, and then it has to reconnect with it. It's like such a mess. So hopefully this snap like from the side, since it's more from the side rather than top down, hopefully like the syncing is a lot better. And I hope they fix the whole UI of connecting controllers and putting people on like port 1, 2, and 3. Oh my god, that's so horrendous on the Switch One. So hopefully that stuff is a little bit smoother this time around too.
It's not great. And yeah, what you were talking about on the 120, I guess I wasn't surprised just because kind of like my theme here of this console, I feel like they very much know though the people that are the handheld gamers, that's who this is for, and that's where we really got to go. Because I think they did say like when it's docked, it's 4K, and that's great. But I think once I got the HD, like these games still look great. I'm happy to have Mario games in 4K. I'm sure they'll look very fantastic. But I think that's why I wasn't surprised by some of those additions on the handheld stuff, because I just feel like that's going to be early adopters of people that travel lots or just whatever, like the complaints you've had, are sick and tired of playing with this size of screen or controllers or buttons or whatever it may be. So I think that's why I'm not surprised for the handheld side stuff. I think they have a lot of good features or updates that have made it that hard not to be tempting, right? Like I talked about a couple weeks ago. It's all quality of life stuff, but just little stuff like from every year I play WWE in GM mode. It's like, even if it's a few minor twitches, it's like, oh, I'd really like to have that feature, and now I'm going to go spend $100. Now this is like a much more, but still, I think that's how you get those people that have, especially early adopters of the Switch. I think even our
Hmm.
Discord, I saw a couple people like Clay and Maddie who I think the last couple of years they've just got a Switch, or like I'm like no need for this right now. But the people that have been there since I'd say year one from year two, they're very much ready. So that's where
Yeah.
it makes sense. So
Yeah, especially if you didn't upgrade with like the OLED version or
yes,
anything else. Um, yeah, mouse functionality, as we talked about. I still think we really need to maybe get like another direct, really showing off like justification for like some seeing more of that. I mean, we've seen a couple games, but
yeah.
yeah, that if we kind of heard about that and it is like official now. I'm curious to see like how that feels zipping around the UI and like the store and whatnot. But and yeah, like from this thing we've seen with games from it, it's like okay, I guess like some of these make sense. Like Metroid, maybe that could be really cool, but I'm not super sold on the mouse functionality at the moment. Seems like
Yeah.
I don't know if I really needed this. I'm curious how well it will work. Like on if you're like on the couch and you roll it around on the couch, like is that gonna work well, or do you need like a hard surface for it to like work nicely?
Yeah. What I just don't want is because I know there's lots of people that have been wanting this. I just don't want to get to the point of like Mario Galaxy where it's like, oh, you have there's sections where here it's motion controls. I don't want a game where we get
Ooh,
to because
yeah.
there's a couple of games they showed that was primarily looking like, oh, you're playing with the mouse. Like it was like one of those weird tech games that we'll talk about. But
Yeah.
that's what I don't want is I don't want some big game where it's like, oh, now here's the mouse feature part. I don't want that. Like I know some people are very excited about that. I'm happy with just playing with regular controllers when it comes to the Switch, but we'll see.
Yeah. On top of that, we got a better speaker, a better stand. The stand thing's funny to me. It's like I've used the stand on the original Switch maybe once or twice, but maybe I've only used it once or twice because it was so bad. So maybe I'll get a little bit more use out of this now that it actually seems to be a little bit more substantial. Like I could see myself lying in bed and like propping it up on my lap now, I guess, where the previous thing, there's no way it would have been able to do that with that janky little piece of plastic. So that's cool. It's got two USB ports. They talked about how this is like mainly for the use of connection with the microphone, but I'm curious to see what other uses there are for having the two USB ports on there. Way more storage, up from 32 to 256, but also how much bigger are these games going to be?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it going to be an equivalent amount of space on your Switch?
Especially all those
so
third-party games too. Like I don't get to, but like
Elden Ring is an
Elden
80
Ring
or 100 or whatever it is.
yeah, like that's why too. So like you said, it's interesting. We'll see what the balance is depending on what you do, right? Because I'm somebody I don't play those third-party games, but I understand why somebody now, if they want to try and make this their only console, especially being on the go, play Elden Rings wherever. But for me, I think I'm going to be okay because I just buy Nintendo games and that's it. And I think just finally now, I think just within this last year, I had to buy a SD card, and I've had my Switch since the Marvel Alliance, Marvel Ultimate Alliance. So, but if you're planning on playing all third-party games or a lot of them, I can see how it's going to stack up.
Yeah.
So,
And they did talk about how you need a specific micro SD card or SSD card if you do want that extra storage, because it is like the higher. Like I don't think they ever use the word SSD in this, but I think that's what it is. So like faster loading times essentially.
that Express too is what it was. Too.
Okay, yeah.
It
So
was,
maybe they have like their own little Nintendo copyrighted name for it or something like that. But they kind of showed off like certain ones that you'll need. But 256 should be plenty if these games are the same size as they've always been. But like I just said, like they probably will require more space because they're more intensive. We're doing up to 4K resolutions, 120 frames, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, 4K resolution is there. Full backwards compatibility confirmed, which I think we kind of already knew, but it's nice to have. There is like the slight exception to that. I don't think they said that, but I think they just mean like weird things like Ring Fit Adventure or things like that are like a Nintendo Labo stuff. Like obviously that stuff would maybe not work, but like I think every other
that's
game.
like, oh my god, I was really wanting Labo.
I mean, Ring Fit is probably a bummer for some people, but like whatever. It's not the end of the world. So yeah, I spewed off a lot of stuff there. But I guess the last thing for me on just like that tech hardware stuff is the 120 frames thing. Like I never expected that for this. I don't think I ever would have expected that Nintendo would ever do a 120 frames console. I just feel like that's not what they're there for. So that's cool. But I'm extra salty here. So my TV, I got this TV, 120 frames, 4K, beautiful, and then it broke. And so it's still under warranty, cool. But they didn't sell that TV anymore, so I had to get a different TV,
Mm-hmm.
and I could have got another 120 frames one if I spent a couple extra $100 on top of my warranty thing. But I was like, you know what? So far, like, none of these games are really using 120 frames. I don't really need this. And so I went for the non 120 frames one. And since then, Spelunky 2 got a 120 frames patch on the PS5, which I really want to try.
That's how it
And then
goes.
this freaking console, which I
Yeah.
think would be so cool to have for certain select Nintendo games and like maybe Smash down the road or something. But like, I'm not going to buy another TV for another, well, until this one breaks or like 10 years from now. So I'll just never really get to use that. So that's not Nintendo's fault. That's this annoying ass fucking LG TV that broke on me's fault. But I'm extra salty about that because I just never would have expected that Nintendo would do this. So congrats to them. I think this is way more power in this thing than I expected. I thought they were just gonna be like, people were saying, oh, this is gonna be like, it's gonna catch up with the PS4 generation, but like this is, as far as I can tell, caught up with Series X and PS5, right? If it's SSD, 120 frames, 4K,
Yeah.
like it's right there with them at this point.
And like you said, I don't think that's not what made the Switch successful.
Yeah.
That wasn't the reason why people don't buy. That's what the whole pitch was to make the Xbox successful, right? I'm not saying it's Xbox level, but you know what I mean. They were selling on graphics and looks and visuals and load times and stuff. So it's nice that they're up there. Also, we've talked about before that there is like multiple, since the Switch's launch, multiple changes in leadership, and I feel like this era is definitely more. Nintendo's always weird, but I do feel like this is probably the least weird they've been in their history,
Yeah.
because I feel like they are a bit more conscious of, okay, we want to be making the right moves and we want to be calling it Switch to, like, I feel like it is more less savvy and business savvy, and that's something where it's like, hey, can we get these type of features? So makes sense to me.
And like Nintendo is the kind of freaking company that will release. I'm picking a game off the top of my head. It might not be true, but like they'll release Metroid Dread that settings options is like master volume and like music volume, and like those are literally the only two settings in the console or like for the whole game. It's like,
Yeah.
where, like, give me some options to like customize my experience a little bit. And so I'm surprised that like they said with the Metroid example, like you can choose your mode. You want 4K resolution mode or do you want 120 frames mode? You can't have both at the same time, just like PS5 or Xbox have. So I did not expect, like, that just is a very anti-Nintendo thing for me, for them to like not curate the experience 100% how it's supposed to be, but instead to like give options to the player of like, do you want better resolution or do you want better performance? So yeah, I think it's once again like just the change of the guard, the people who are, and like I've never seen these guys, the three presenters here. I've never seen these guys before,
Yeah.
but like there are new people in some of these roles at Nintendo, and things have changed in recent times, and I think that's definitely showing here where they're going for a more powerful console. They're giving you a bit more options as a player in some sense. We'll see if the games back that up, but yeah, I think it's pretty cool to see some of this stuff. So I'm impressed by the physical prowess of this beast here. Anything else on that hardware stuff, or do you want to move on to the next game
Nope,
thing?
that's everything.
Okay. So if you want to experience some of these new features, you can check out the Switch 2 Welcome Tour, which is a download game where you can be a little guy on a little Switch and walk around and like see the history of the magnetic button. And then there's like little mini games and stuff in there, kind of like a 1-2 switch sort of thing. But the most deranged thing of all time is that this is a paid game.
Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous. There's so much nickel and diming on this console, and we'll talk about the price stuff at the end, but the fact that this is paid, absolutely deranged. I can't. That is super whack to me. I hate that.
Yeah, it's funny. There's two things I got on that. One, there was one, I can't remember where it was, but it was like someone that was used to work at a, not IGM, but something like that, like some whatever. But you talk about, there's this story you heard about how multiple times the last few consoles that Nintendo had wanted to do something like this, but Reggie was really for like, oh, let's give some sort of experience that's cheaper or free. But Nintendo didn't like having hard work out there that was, not being paid for. And now Reggie is gone. That's where you can see that. And that is, Nintendo doesn't discount many games, but I could see this being a game in a couple of years being dirt cheap somehow. But this is, where
This can't be more than like $10, but they might charge like $30 for it. I don't know.
Whatever it is, I just don't know who buys it. That one doesn't have just unlimited amounts of money, or a kid accidentally buying and a parent just being like, oh, I'm stuck with it. Like, very they used the word tech demo while they were previewing it, and like to me, this feels like this is something that's baked into the console. This is like,
Yeah.
this is not like Astro, where it's like, oh, you had Astro's Playroom for fun, and then we made the real game. It's like, this is
Yeah.
like Astro's Playroom. This should be like what is in the
Yeah.
console. So very,
That
very
that
odd.
example makes it especially egregious when you just look at what
Yes.
PlayStation did there and how generous that felt, even though that's like of course baked into like the price of the console is the fact that you're getting this built-in game. But yeah, just it's kind of grimy to do it this way for what looks like a fucking rinky-dink little experience. Like this does not compare to what Astro's Playroom even
Not at
looked like
all.
in terms of visual quality and all that. So savage move there. Okay, so next up they talked about how there's different types of games. There's like Switch 1 games that you can just play. There's Switch 2 games, which are Switch 2 exclusive games. Can't play on Switch 1, of course. But then there's also Switch 1 games that are going to get paid upgrades. So, something that we've seen on other consoles where it's like, okay, what's it called? Days Gone is getting this new update for PS5, and you can pay $10 to upgrade if you own the game, or you can just buy the new game for what is probably like, I don't know, $10 more than that game was back in the day, kind of thing, to access like the new features that are here. And they showed off some of the games. So there's first of all Mario Party Jamboree is getting Jamboree TV. This is coming out July 24th, which is implementing mouse controls. Has some new mini games. Looks like it implements the camera into that you can like have your friends in the game and you can see their reactions in real time. Which honestly, that does look like a fun. Like I'm not gonna buy a camera to have that experience, and of course, it like looks better in a trailer than I'm sure it would in real life. But sure, fun little update there. Jamboree TV. That's a thing that's coming out. Not what I expected. I didn't really expect Mario Party to get that, but it seems like they want Jamboree to be like the best Mario Party of all time, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and that one makes sense to me because we're probably not getting Mario Party for a while on the Switch 2, as this one just came out recently, right? So it makes sense to bring this over some new stuff, and there you go.
Yeah, and that one, something like that, to me, that seems fine to like charge a $10 upgrade to get Jamboree TV mode. But what feels a little more grimy for me is Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom running better, and that's it. And then like that you have to pay extra for as well. And then there's like an app that you can like download on your phone and will like help you.
I don't know what they
but
were
it's like
trying to
once
pitch
again
there.
like IGN's map, I guarantee you, is better than whatever this fucking Nintendo app thing that they have where you can. The one cool thing though with that app is that you can like share QR codes of your in-game creations, and so people can download your monstrosities that you've made of like some weird pirate ship or whatever. That's cool. I think it's extra savage that's like something that's kind of locked behind this paid upgrade. So yeah, that one, that's not DLC. That's, I guess it kind of sort of is, but yeah, that one seems a little greedy. Yeah, I don't love that.
No, it's kind of like what you said. They'll come up a few times, but they're definitely trying to squeeze a lot out of people. So
yeah. And then Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which, a couple years old now at this point, but it's getting a new section, like essentially a DLC pack called Starcross World. I couldn't really tell exactly like what about this requires it to be a Switch 2. Maybe I gotta watch the trailer again, but like I don't know what about this was so inventive and powerful that it requires the power of the Switch 2 to do it, and why it would require this like paid upgrade. But anyway, that's a thing. I don't know how much this costs. If it is like $5-10, I might pick it up, and because I really like that game and I would want more of it. I hope this doesn't mean that like we're not getting a sequel to that game, because I really do want to get a full-on sequel to Forgotten Land. But I guess we do know. No, never mind. I was going to say we know what that studio is working on, but we don't actually, because that'll come up a bit later. So there's that one. I don't think you have much add on that one. And then, yeah, 2 games. So Metroid Prime 4 Beyond and Pokemon ZA are going to get a Switch 2 exclusive version. That's a little bit different scenario though, where you can't really like upgrade. I guess you could upgrade those versions once they've come out. You could pay to get that upgrade if you like get a Switch 2 late, I suppose. But obviously they haven't come out yet, so you would just in theory buy the Switch 2 version and get access to all that stuff. Metroid Prime, you get mouse control functionalities, so that's pretty nice for first-person shooter. That was something that I kind of theorized they would do for Metroid. I thought though that they would be doing that in large part because Metroid Prime would be like another launch date game for this, but we didn't get a release date for it yet, so seems like maybe it's a fall game still.
Kind of crazy. Like I thought it was coming too. Like once, because you and Kirkland talked about it, and I thought, okay, maybe you got the trailer out, but then you get the big like, okay, and it's coming day one, week two. Like the fact that we got a announced date for a game later on that we had no idea about, which is
Mm.
within months of Switch and Metroid, we still know is it's
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, I guess maybe the runway's like looking good, like day one Mario Kart, month later Donkey Kong. Don't know what's going on in August, but like maybe a couple months and then like October drop Metroid, November Pokemon drops. Like, that could be a good suite of like just first party things
Yeah,
thrown on top all the third party stuff. So maybe that's why. Maybe they just want to space it for
yeah,
that reason, I guess. Because I think Metroid Dread came out in October, if I remember correctly. So maybe they just want that October spooky Halloween vibes for Metroid, perhaps.
yeah.
And then yeah, part of that upgrade is you're gonna get the 4K or 120 FPS as well. I don't even know what the Pokemon thing was. I think it just like runs better, so similar to Tears of the Kingdom and stuff like that. So I guess I'll take this opportunity to ask you how you feel about Metroid. Like, did you watch that trailer from the other day from the direct
No,
last week?
I do
Okay.
not. No, I
What
don't
do you think about the
know.
footage here? Or did you like see the treehouse? Like, I don't know if you have any kind of new
No,
thoughts on that
I've been
game.
staying away from it because I'm
Okay.
still. That's definitely a word of mouth one, so I'm kind of like trying not to get too excited for like. I just think there's a version of this where it's similar to like the Star Fox Wii U one. I know you guys didn't enjoy it as much, and I know there's some people in the Discord that were asking about that. But yeah, I don't want to get too hyped because I just feel like I'm still in the camp where I'm probably just gonna go and buy. I always forget what's the GameCube one again, and they redid it.
Metroid Prime? Sorry, what are you talking about?
Well, yeah. Well, what's the new one called?
The new Metroid game?
Yeah.
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond.
Thank you. That's the one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was talking about. So, no, I because Metroid Prime that came out last year, right? The re-release.
Oh, the
of it, whatever.
remaster is what you're talking
Yes.
about. Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's my trajectory. Is I'm planning on playing that, and then I'm gonna do the other one. The titles are confused me, but I don't want to get excited for it. I just have a bad feeling, and I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong. I hope it comes out and it's like Breath of the Wild, where it's like, oh, this is a game changer and whatnot. But from the few things I've seen, because I know how you and Kurt feel, from the few things I see, like it didn't feel like that what Breath of the Wild was when we got that trailer. It was like, wow, this looks a
Hmm.
lot different, or even we've talked about before where like God of War did that. I'm not saying it has to be that, but it didn't look. It didn't feel like 2000, what are we, 25. It feels like maybe they were going that route. They didn't like or weren't confident in the game, so they went to let's just do what we do best here. So, and
Hmm.
maybe that's still a good game, but I just don't feel like it's going to be an all timer or something. Which
Yeah.
after that amount of break, it kind of should be. That's an unfair thing to maybe put on a game, but when it's been that long and it is I'd say classic Nintendo franchise, a very important character to the history, it should be something that has like what Zelda got, what I'm hoping Donkey Kong is getting now. Like what Donkey Kong getting, that feels like what Metroid should be
Hmm.
getting, and I don't think it is. So that's where I'm
Yeah.
just it's not on my radar right now. That's going to be I'll wait for you or other people to play it first, unless it's like a Metacritic like Zelda thing where it's like, okay, maybe I'm more confident, I'll skip it to the line, but I'm
Hmm.
cautiously waiting to see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's one of those things with Nintendo in general where yeah, you get other companies making like platform fighters like Smash, but no one's quite making it on that same budget. You don't get that from like, PlayStation did it once, but they're not doing it frequently. Or like other genres like platformers, like Xbox isn't really making those. PlayStation blew everyone away with Astro Bot, but it's like that's a rarity. They're not doing that often. But
Yeah.
when it comes to like Metroid and like a first person exploration game with like combat and like puzzles, like there are so many of those like big budget games like that, and I guess it just makes it like in the modern day, like back when the first Metroid Prime came out, there was still a lot of FPSs back then, but like
Yeah.
on the GameCube was a rarity, and like I don't know, we are just at a different time. But it's like now there's just so many games like this that I think it takes a bit more to stand out, and it's just not doing that for me. So I'm on the fence with it right now. I'll wait and see what that release date is. Wait and see. Maybe a couple more trailers. Maybe I skimmed through the Treehouse thing, but I didn't watch all of
Mhm.
it. But I think it would be kind of like what you said, a word of mouth scenario for me as well on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let us take our first ad break, and we will be right back. All right, we are back. Next up is a game called Drag and Drive, Drag X Drive, Drag Times Drive.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just drag and drive,
I
but that sounds like
there is an
drag and
X
drive. Yeah.
in there, but yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, so
Confusing title.
this is a definitely like a feels like a tech demo kind of game in terms of showing
Hmm.
off what the mouse controls can kind of do here. In this game, you are playing as you're I guess playing wheelchair basketball essentially, which is I think a cool concept. And I'm sure for like there's just not like if you are someone in a wheelchair, not a lot of games.
Hmm.
There's not a lot of representation for that in video games. I can't even think of a game that like maybe in Tony Hawk there's like a instead of a skateboard there's like a cheat code you can put in to like use a wheelchair or something like that. But I think
Yeah.
that's kind of cool to have that as a kind of fun, unique sort of thing. In terms of the game though, like incredibly bland, very,
Yeah.
very basic. Like no there's like no art in this game, which is like disappointing. And it's like I can't see them charging more. Like you should not be able to charge more than like $10-15 for this, but I
Hmm.
feel like it's probably like a $40-50 game, and I feel like no one's gonna play it. So I don't know. I maybe there's more to it, but like this was not a great showing for like this being like a bigger, grander experience. Now maybe they do just want it to be like a small little $10 thing, and in which case, right on. I think you kind of nailed the assignment there, but like
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't know if that's what this is gonna be.
No, I agree with your trajectory. I think it's going to be that 30 to 40, and it's not going to sell well. And they're going to be like, well, that's why we don't make these type of games because they don't sell well. But to me, this looks like if we had a Wii Sports for Switch 2, this would be one of the sports in there. Be like, oh, we're going to add this
Yeah,
in there.
good
That'll be
point.
some
Yeah.
fun. It feels like a game within a game, not a full game. Maybe there's way more to it when you get to it, but it did feel very, very basic. It felt like back in the day on a PlayStation disc when you get like 50 mini games or a demo. It's like that's what this feels like. So yeah, don't I will not be getting that. Maybe if it's very, very cheap, but I doubt it. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And next up, we got just a swath of third-party games. I'll just rip through these, and we can talk about
yeah.
which ones are interesting to you. So we got Elden Ring Tarnished Edition is coming to Switch 2. That's pretty cool. Hades 2. Street Fighter 6 is getting like a kind of a collection version with a bunch of the DLC characters plus some amiibo stuff. New Demon X Machina game. I think it's a new game. It might be DLC. I don't know.
Mm.
Titanic Scion is what that's called. Split Fiction is going to be a launch date game for this. New Madden game. Hogwarts Legacy is another launch one. Tony Hawk's 3 plus 4 coming out in the summer. Hitman World of Assassination Signature Edition, which this game was on the Switch. One is like a streaming game, but now this is going to be like a, download it on your
Mm.
console, run better kind of thing. So that's cool. We saw the James Bond teaser, which is
Yeah.
insane.
I was getting excited because I thought
I
for
was getting so
sure-
excited.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, we got nothing here.
I was like, oh, what a get for them. But hey, still, it's going there. That's cool. You know,
A
they got
reminder that the
history
game
Nintendo. So
exists and is still being developed. So
it's like, what are we gonna get first? This game or the movie? My God, James Bond right now
yeah.
is just in a slew of
Broccoli
issues, but-
Empire in shambles.
Yeah.
And then Bravely Default Remaster and Yakuza. So yeah, any. I mean, Elden Ring I think is going to sell another 10 million copies on the Switch too. That's going to just
10
because I
million,
think
really?
specifically I picked that number out of a hat, but I feel like it will sell huge, mainly because even like I remember when the Steam Deck came out, and when I was at my friend's house, like trying the Steam Deck when it came out, he was showing me Elden Ring as one of the things, and like even with that, tweaking the settings and whatnot, he couldn't like squeeze out more than like I think like 40 frames or something, and like the graphics had to be toned
That's fair.
down.
Yeah.
But I think like this being like if it does run really well, like 60 frames looks really good. Honestly, graphically, it did look a little lower, but like you never know with YouTube compression. But like
Yeah.
who knows what's going on there? But if this like runs well and whatnot, like I think it's gonna sell a tremendous amount. A lot of people are gonna want this on the go. And I mean even then,
Yeah.
Steam Deck, much lower number of people own a Steam Deck than are gonna own this even like in the first week, probably. So I think a
Yeah.
lot of people will pick this up.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I was talking about this in the Discord, and then I was talking about this with our GUA people, and I remember when I heard the sound, and I just put like Elden Ring and then just a bunch of ha-ha-has because not as bad. It just feels like it's so strange. Where I can't remember what era it was, but there was an era where getting a mature game or even a game like this on a Nintendo console was very rare. Like it was not that wasn't a thing. And that's, I think, again, attributed to the mindset change. But I agree with you. I don't know what the number is, but I think it'll sell well. I think people would want that game on the go. And no, I think I said at the beginning where I just think they were doing their best to show you we're going to have tons of content on here. For some reason, you don't want, like, you could, I don't know what it's gonna be for new games, right? Like it's tough, like because these are games that have released and after. So it's like the next time Madden comes out, or the next time WWE 2K26 comes out, is that gonna be ready to happen right at that moment? And even then, oh man, I didn't even think about GM mode. Oh boy,
GM mode on the go.
that's an interesting little nugget
You
there.
can
But
play GM mode while you're at a WWE event in the audience.
yeah, or I can play GM mode while I'm waiting for Espos and David to book their show. Just have the double, just GM mode to GM mode. But
Yeah.
no, the thing is, like, that's the only thing I still I think always hold Switch back from being never the add-on, because it's like, will we get these next editions on the day launch? Because that's great in retrospect. Because 100%. There are millions of people around the world where the Nintendo console is their only console. So this does help, whether it is by choice or whether it is financially. Because not just this, like other consoles, when we get PS6 and then we get whatever Xbox is going to do, like in general, gaming is going to cost a lot. So you will, I think, have, and the economy all around the world, especially North America right now, is shit and going to be even more shit. So I think that's one thing where it's like there will be a lot more people that just could make one console purchase, and that's where I think Nintendo is great at showing, hey, even if these games maybe aren't at launch, just wait, you'll get these eventually. So I think it was smart to show, hey, look how much big IP we're getting. Where I remember we sat through directs in the first 5 years of Geekverse where it's like the third party games they're getting were very it was like, even myself who loves Batman, it's like you can get Arkham Asylum.
That was
the
one I was thinking of too.
Yeah, it's like this game's been out for like
BioShock, no way.
Yeah, it's like this is what you can get. All right, where this is much more timely. So
yeah. Moving on then, the next kind of new title here, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. It's coming out in winter. So this is the third Hyrule Warriors game, the second one in like the Breath of the Wildy realm. So yeah, Breath of the Wild came out, and then Age of Calamity, I think maybe it came out in like 2020 or something. So that was kind of like an in-betweener between Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, and then we're getting this. So I'm kind of surprised to see this. I kind of thought, okay, we got Age of Calamity, cool, we got that, but now we're getting another one. I wonder if this means that they really plan on continuing in this lineage of like this, I guess, little mini arc of like the Zelda games, if we'll get a third one after Tears in this way. But yeah, it's like these Warriors games, every once in a while I'm like, God, I love this IP so much. I don't like this gameplay, but like I want to give it a go.
yeah.
But like I shouldn't buy it because I know I'm not gonna like it. And I broke with Age of Calamity. I was hyped. I was like, I want to get back in there. I played like 4 hours of this. I was like, I can't believe I spent $80 on this. I fucking hate this game. This game sucks.
Slanking you again is what you're saying.
I will say part of that was that game looked atrocious, ran terribly. So on the Switch 2, I'm sure it'll run a lot better. It'll look better. But no, there's no chance I will buy this game because I just will not like it. So yeah.
I take your word. I've only seen it a couple times when I came to your parents' basement and you were playing the first one. So that's about it.
Yes. Yeah, I somehow own the first two games, even though I'm not a fan of those kinds of games. But anyway, I will not be getting the third one. That's where the buck stops there. Next up is Nintendo Switch Online. So, they confirmed that everything from the Switch 1 is carrying over. All of those libraries, we're getting 100% of that. All that stuff's coming over. And then day one, so that's what surprised me. I didn't think we'd get anything NSO here. Maybe like confirming that stuff's coming. I didn't think we'd get anything new day one. I thought that would like save that for the fall, and then like boom, here's a bunch of new stuff. Yeah. But no, day one we are getting the GameCube app, which I did not expect. That is obviously the next one that makes sense in the timeline, and like you're not going to do DS because like that has the double screens. That's just too complicated. But I just thought like we got the Metroid Prime remaster. Mario Sunshine was part of the 3D All-Stars bundle. The Pikmin 1 and 2 thing re-released that was like last year or 2 years ago. Even like random like Balan Kaidos. I think there was a couple other ones as well. Like there's been a lot of GameCube representation on the Switch in games that are being sold on the console. And so because of that, I just thought like, yeah, I don't really think we're going to get this. And me and Taylor did an episode actually talking just GameCube nostalgia in general. And then we talked about what that could look like for the Nintendo Switch Online. So go back, check that episode out if you want like a deeper dive on something like the full catalog, what it could look like. Me and Taylor did that. But yeah, I'm surprised to see this, and I'm stoked because I love the GameCube and very nostalgic for that console. A ton of great games, and they are very expensive to buy. Like if you go to used game stores, those games are still super duper expensive. And so yeah, I think this is a really, really great add-on, and I'm excited to play a bunch of these games. And yeah, I don't know. What do you think about this?
I think you and I talked about it a few times. Never a whole topic like you and Taylor, but I think you had pretty much convinced me too that this was like a long shot or wouldn't be happening for a while. But then it made complete sense when it was. I think if it was this is coming to Switch 2, I'd be like, okay, sure, that's something. It's like they know their fans want it and we're working on it, right? So it's like thumbs up. The fact that it's like we know the fans want it and it's their day one, to me that was like, oh, this probably could have been here for a while. I'm gonna say like the last 2 to 3 years, they probably knew this. Like, nah, just especially with what this, like we talk about the mindset nowadays. I think they definitely, like, you know what, hold on that, trick out a couple. That's exciting. Luckily, there was no games at launch. So I was like, oh, I can't wait. But I'll be very excited to get Strikers on there. Saw that. I do love the new. I think when we did our review, I think we all put the new Strikers as the best one. But I still have. I still think my favorite is that GameCube one. I've played it so much, but I do like the simplicity of it a bit more at times, and I'll be excited to play that a bit smoother. And I am really hoping, well, probably not this stream. I don't know if anyone's going to have the Switch 2 by this stream, but I'm hoping by the 2026 stream that one of us have the Switch 2, and then that will be because I want to play Strikers in general. Next stream for the newest one, I want to play that because we didn't play this go round, and I want to play Strikers in the nice GameCube version on Switch where it'll be looking a little bit nicer, probably a bit smoother. Don't got to bust out and worry about how's the capture card gonna work with the GameCube this time. Oh no, it's right on the Switch. So I'm excited for that. Because GameCube we've talked about before. That's I'd say probably a top tour for me. Like top,
Ooh.
I could say top one. Like it's that. Whatever 1 and 2 is, it's that and a PlayStation. I think I've probably put 4 in there. Like it's those two I have great memories with. And GameCube, yeah, I absolutely love it. So
We got to do that at some point. Console ranking consoles.
I thought we've done. I'd have to go back. I thought we did that as maybe a Patreon episode one time, but I'll check because I remember us talking about maybe we just did specifically Nintendo one. I'm wondering.
Maybe,
I don't know.
yeah.
I'll do a look, but I'd be down, especially 10 years coming up. So
yeah. So the opening roster of games here, we got 3 to start with, which, this is kind of like the N64 when that first dropped on NSO. Is like, okay, this is looking bleak. There's not a lot of games here, but then obviously they trickled them out. Whereas like, when like even Game Boy Advance was like that, but when like NES or SNES dropped at first, it was like, oh, here's already like 30 games, but like these ones, a little more selective. And as I said, some of these, they're already selling these on the marketplace, so they're not going to put Pikmin 1 and 2 on there, for example. But anyway, opening roster is F-Zero GX, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, and Soul Calibur 2, which is, Soul Calibur. This is the one that had Link as a playable character, so super fun. I love that they got that in there. I think that's really cool. I think I've played this game back in the day at a friend's house or something, and I'll definitely be down to check it out when it comes on here.
Having F-Zero in the opening lineup to me is Nintendo for sure just being like, hey, we're never making an F-Zero game, but we know there's a small pocket.
They released a new F-Zero game 2 years ago.
Did they?
Did you forget about F-Zero 99?
Oh, well, yeah, okay. I mean, like a nice, proper, like Nintendo AAA one.
People like that game. It was good.
That's great. Game. People like a lot of things, but it doesn't mean that's correct. I'm not saying it's bad to like it. I'm just saying, like, we've never got that big edition. I feel like this, like, okay, we know, like, it has a fan base, so let's put it in this lineup, but it's not going to be, like, next 5 years, you're not getting a AAA,
Yeah. No, I mean, it's funny, even, like, one of the games in the next, like, sizzle reel thing was, like, it was a day one thing, and it looks exactly like F-Zero. So it's like, I feel like they're almost like, we're not going to make it, but like this other company will make it for us. But honestly, the Switch and now the Switch 2, like the freaking mecca for F-Zero, because you have F-Zero X, now GX. I think they have Maximum Velocity on there. I think they have one of the NES ones on there, F-Zero 99. So there's like at least 5 or 6 F-Zero games available through that service. So obviously you can't buy any of them on the store. You have to be subscribed to the service. You can't own them, so it's a bit of a gray area there. But they are, the series is at least got like a glimmer of a heartbeat, I guess, at this point. But I think you're totally right that new entry, maybe not anytime soon. I man, now that we got 24 racers of Mario Kart, just finally
I was just gonna say that.
Put fucking Falcon in there. You've had the Mii costumes. You could do it that way, but like
I agree.
Put him in there. We didn't see him, but like put our boy in there.
Because it's one of those, like, it's never going to happen, but it's like when I've been playing Smash with the girls and just, like, explaining Cat and Falcon, because, like, you don't see that guy anywhere otherwhere
Yeah.
else Nintendo. Like everybody else, like they even if they've not played them, they've seen like a Star Fox. Or they've seen logos, or if we've watched a direct before, they see it stuff. But like Cat Falcon F-Zero, that's nothing to
Yeah,
them. So I'm like,
and
yeah, he's a
Mario Kart 8
racer.
had his car and 2 courses from F-Zero. So it's
Yeah,
like they're
just put
so
him in there.
close. Just put
Yeah.
the boy in there. And then last one, Wind Waker. So this one's interesting to me because for like years it's been talked about how like, okay, Nintendo made this remaster for the Switch and they've just been waiting for a rainy day to drop it, and like maybe when there's a big lull in like Zelda releases, that's when they'll drop this remake. But I think it's, there's not a lot of generosity from all this Switch 2 stuff in terms of how we're talking about nickel and diming with some of these like rinky-dink little games, but like I think this is pretty generous that instead of charging $80 or $90 for like an HD remaster like the Wii, because they did that on the Wii U, the HD remaster of Wind Waker, they could have released that for 90, $80, whatever, but instead they're putting it in this service. It's not the remaster version; it's the original version, but it will look maybe a little bit up res, better screen, all that sort of stuff. So I think this is cool, and this is one of my biggest blind spots in video games in general, but also like just specifically within the Zelda series. I've never played Wind Waker before, so this will definitely be my first time playing it. So I'm excited to do so. And then in the little sizzle release sort of thing, we saw some games that are coming down the road include Fire Emblem, Path of Radiance, Pokemon Coliseum, Pokemon Gale of Darkness, Chibi Robo, Luigi's Mansion, Mario Sunshine, and Strikers, as you mentioned before. So yeah, Strikers, that's great, and that's like I never owned that game back in the day. I always just played at friend's house or play it with you and Taylor and stuff. So I'm excited to have easier access to that. Sunshine, I don't know if I'm surprised or unsurprised by that, but as I mentioned, that was in the 3D All Stars collection along with 64 and Galaxy. But you can't buy that anymore, right? Like, or I guess you could find a physical copy somewhere. So it's cool that they're putting it in here. And so like also 64 is of course on the N64 NSO apps. Now it's just like, for me, I'm such a sucker for buying that game because I pretty much just bought Galaxy for $80, So they got me there. Luigi's Mansion being on here makes sense. That's cool. And with that, it means that the entire Luigi's Mansion series is on the Switch now because 2 got that remake thing or remaster, whatever, and then 3 was obviously a Switch game. So that's cool that you have the whole series on one console. Yeah. Chibi Robo, that's a cool kind of weird deep cut one. I'm really happy about that. I've never played that game, but I've always wanted to. These Pokemon games, I don't like Coliseum. I think I've played back in the day. I never played Gale of Darkness, so definitely curious to check those out. But cream of the crop here for me is Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. I own this game on the GameCube. I go play it right now. But this game's great. It still is in like my top 3 Fire Emblem games. I love it so much. I'm excited for more people to play it. It was not a huge seller back in the day, and because of that, like there's not a lot of copies out there, and it's extremely expensive to buy like secondhand. And so for it to be just like in more people's hands, I'm really excited to hear just people's thoughts on this game because it is a super unique and really great entry in the series. So yeah, I'm excited to see people get hyped about that one. But yeah, any other games kind of get you jazzed?
No, Luigi's Mansion I'm always down for. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I know soon that's going to be one that the girls that see me play want to play, and I want to. Don't know. I think it's easy enough, and I think that's probably where I'll wait to start them there, is because it'll be available, and I feel like that's a more basic one. Like they try to add more as the series progresses, but yeah, that's where for me, other than Strikers and Mansion, which I still own, there wasn't much here yet. Sunshine maybe because every time I try to borrow the 3D All Stars from Taylor, he just takes it after like a week or two, and he's like, "Oh, I think he's just worried I'm gonna lose it or something." He's like, "Oh, Madison wants to play it." I guarantee if I ask Madison, she ain't playing shit. But I also never. I always think I have time, not gonna. But I would like to because replaying Mario 64 and Sunshine are on my kind of gaming list that I want to redo and play and whatnot. So that it'll be nice, easy access because I'm a Sunshine guy. I loved Sunshine back in the day.
Hell yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and then along with this, they're re-releasing for like the 100th time a GameCube controller that you can buy. Which they did that for all of these NSO
good,
apps.
Though. Yeah.
Sorry, what'd you say?
I said it looked good though. You said the GameCube controller, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wireless. Just looked nice. It just looked.
Yeah, they got the classic Indigo, which looks
great. Just a great
and,
looking controller.
And yeah, they like the issue with using Switch or GameCube controller, because I have like the adapter, so I can play like use my old ones on the Switch currently, and I do that for Smash. But for other games, it becomes an issue because it doesn't have the left bumper. And so this adds on that left bumper as well as the great C button, so I can talk to my friends
Of
online
course,
because
we
I
need
can't do it
that.
otherwise. And it honestly, the bumper is like the jankiest, cheapest looking, tiny little rinky-dink little
Yeah,
piece of shit. But
and they glued it on there.
at least I can use it. And like they talked about how you can remap these controls and stuff. So that's cool. I don't know if I'll buy. I probably won't buy one of these. I assume I can still plug in my current GameCube controller, and obviously the GameCube games don't use that bumper because that button
Yes.
didn't exist back in the day. So, yeah, as I said, Prime, Pikmin 1 and 2, don't expect those on here because they're selling them on the store, and there's a couple other ones I think I'm forgetting. But yeah, I think I'm excited to see what other kind of games they add to this roster. I expect just like the N64, it'll be slow. Like they don't really put a lot of stuff on the N64. They're still putting more like NES and SNES games out rather than like new N64 games on there, which is disappointing. But hopefully the GameCube continues to get games past the 10 that we saw here in the trailer.
Yeah. I will probably be buying this controller in the future. I loved
Ooh,
some of the
nice.
classic looks. If they weren't a part of like the big bundles and whatnot, I loved like the PlayStation 1 like 20th anniversary consoles they did. Like I said,
Yeah.
we're I don't know. I think I'm realistic in thinking 4 years away from a PS6. To me, it's like I can't buy another just PS5 for the looks. But now it's like that's what's great about this. It's the start of the console. If there was, let's say, the PS5 launch and said, "Oh, you can also get this PS1 looking edition," then I would have done it, even played more because like, well, I'm gonna have this for a while. To buy something where it might be near the end and not so much, but this is like the beginning of the Switch 2 console. I like having a Pro controller, so it's like, why not have a Pro controller that's like the Switch and it's wireless, which is great for me. I
Hmm.
love having that. So yeah, I think this will be purchased in my household because
Hell yeah.
I fucking love that controller. So
Love to see it.
yeah.
Um, do you, so quick side tangent here is Smash Bros. Is kind of a weird series in that the
Mm.
only time a game has ever been re-released or not, we never got a remaster or anything. The only time anything has ever been re-released is on the Wii. You could buy Smash 64 on like the virtual
All
store.
right, I did. I bought that. I remember.
Yeah, that is the
Yeah.
only time though that you've ever been able to buy a Smash game like not on its original console. They've never like, and even on
Yeah.
the N64 NSO app currently, Smash 64 is not on there. Do you think we'll get Melee?
Oh, I'm of two minds because I've heard like because I don't think it's gonna happen, but I know people have that theory of like what if because they've done Ultimate, they don't know what they're gonna do next, and they do like a Melee HD, and you'll sell copies, right? Because it's just
Yeah.
like that seems like an easy one. Like I would even buy that. You could also use that as like a thing from a year from now. Like, guess what's coming to the GameCube online? Like that. Like, it's a gun or it's a bullet in the chamber that they know they have. I just don't know what they're going to do and how much work they want to put into it, right? And it's also us not knowing what the status of the next Smash is, right? Is it that,
Hmm.
hey, they're working on ideas right now? Is it that it's in flux? They're going to
Yeah,
think
we know
about it,
the
or
team that made the last one is busy working on something else right now, but
right. So that's,
yeah.
I mean, like, is the idea that you're working on that and then after you're back to Smash, right? We don't know that because what if it is just, oh, you're working on this and then after that we'll figure it out. And maybe, and that's the thing, maybe Smash is not even off the table yet. Maybe it's something where they're like, hey, we're going to do this. And then after we're completely done with that cycle, let's talk about what's next. And maybe they go, yeah, let's do Smash. Or maybe it's a situation where Nintendo's waiting and they're going to be like, we don't really have anything. Let's wait on that. That's when you do, okay, well, could we do some sort of HD remaster? Because that one's tough. I'll just say one way or another, you'll see something with Melee in the Switch 2 era. That could be to the very end days, but
Mm,
I'm doing a Travis
okay.
told you right now that they will do something because they know it has money linked to it, and I think this generation of Nintendo is all about making money right now. So I think that you will see it at some way. Don't know if it's just on online, if it's a remaster, remake, whatever it may be. I think you'll see it one way or another.
Yeah. Do you think we'd get Smash 64 first?
Um,
Or is Melee the money maker?
I say no because, like you said, they brought that with the
That's
Wii, and I don't.
that's insane. Yeah.
I just don't think people are. I think there's nostalgia for that, but I think if you put them up even at the same time, it's like people just go right to Melee. Like they just
Yeah.
bypass that, unless their plan is to do like a kind of let them. Like I don't think they're gonna do the Wii one, but like or Brawl, like maybe the plan is to, next year we'll do the first Smash, and the year after we'll do Melee. Maybe, like, I don't think it's impossible, but I could see them just doing Melee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's it's a slightly weird case where like obviously Nintendo owns the IP for Smash Bros. And the later ones have like third party characters and stuff, but Melee and 64 don't. But it is a weird case where like technically the director and like the main studio making it is like Sakurai and his company, and he's like not a Nintendo employee. Like he's like a contractor essentially that like makes Smash and like other games for them and stuff. And so I always wonder if that's not necessarily that there's a weird rights thing there, but more so like they would ask Sakurai like, how do you feel about us releasing it? And if he just says, nah, I'd rather you not, and if they just like respect that and like don't do it, I don't know, because like those just seem like big hits, especially with the online functionality. Like that was something that in Smash 64 and Melee never had. So like Nintendo Switch Online, you don't have to work it into the code. It's just like through the service, and the emulation is like it has the online functionality. So it's like that would just be huge to have those like online access to those. I kind of don't want them to do Melee, even though it is my favorite game of all time, just because I would be worried that if they did this, like an official re-release of the game through an SO, that then they would like go after like Melee tournaments and stuff and like shut them down for using unsanctioned version, which they already do often. They're so annoying about that shit. And so I feel like if they actually did a full release and they're like, hey, you have no excuse now, you have to use our version, I guarantee their version would have more latency. It would not be quite the same as like what we use for tournaments. I just went to a Smash tournament last weekend, so I love Melee. I'd like love to have it more accessible, but I just feel like it would be a little bit laggier, and it's so deep in my bones how that game feels on like a CRT and like through a GameCube that I just know it wouldn't be as good. And I guarantee the online that Nintendo has for this is worse than the current Melee online we have through the community that they've made. So yeah, I don't really want it just honestly for the rights side of it. I just like I think they would start shutting down tournaments and stuff, and I don't want that. So I think fair. I Smash 64 though, please put it on the service because I don't care. I'm not as precious with that one, and I just want to play it without having to plug in my janky N64. So please do that one at the very least.
Yeah.
Let us move on then. Here's another. This is a big sizzle reel. I'm just gonna rifle these off, and then you can interrupt me if you want. A bunch of games coming include Deltarune chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of as one collective package. Borderlands 4, Civilization 7 with mouse controls, mouse controls really cool for that. That's a great add-on. WWE 2K, that's coming. Survival Kids. I looked into this game, but I don't need to talk about it. There's a backstory with that, but I don't need to get into it. Enter the Gungeon 2, a game called Starseeker Astroneer Expeditions. Cyberpunk 2077 is coming to the Switch too. It's kind of cool. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, not Rebirth, but just the first part there. One that they randomly chucked in the sizzle reel, but is like actually a big deal, is like Hollow Knight Silksong, confirmed for 2025. That game's been on ice forever. People have been like chomping at the bit to get news about that, and then they just randomly drop it in here. I don't think there was new footage, but like confirming that it's this year. I don't know if I believe that, but like that's
I was gonna
huge,
say, that feels like
huge
a weird
news that they just
drop.
tucked in the middle of this big sizzle reel. A new Story of Seasons game, a game called Goodbye Universe, 2 Point Museum, Wild Hearts, Witchbrook, which me and Kirkland talked about a few days ago, Puyo Puyo Tetris, Rune Factory, Marvel Cosmic Invasion, Star Wars Outlaws, Fast Fusion, that's like the F-Zero-y looking game, Shadow Labyrinth, Raidu, No Sleep for Kanane Date, Reanimal, Fortnite is coming, shocker, Arcade Archives, Professor Layton, Tamagotchi Plaza, something.
Nice.
Human Fall Flat 2. Sorry, I wrote these notes down as they were going through, and I didn't pause, so I was just like typing like a madman. Anything from the sizzle reel that you think noteworthy?
No,
there?
like I said, I had that epiphany about WWE and GMO. That might be something that I might buy like when it's super on sale, because I don't really need that. I don't go too many places right now because I work at home and got the kids. But no, more good lineup, more games that sell well, and a good variety of games. They're not just hitting on one fan base or one genre. So smart moves all around.
Yeah. All right, let's take our last ad break, and then we'll crush. We have 3 more games to talk about, and then we'll just kind of do some overall final thoughts. We will be right back. All right, we are back. Next up, did not expect this at all. Huge surprise, and I think a huge get for Nintendo Switch 2. A game called the Dusk Bloods, or is it just the? I think there's a the, right?
I think it's
The Dusk Bloods.
yeah.
Yeah. So this is coming out 2026. This is From Software exclusive game for the Switch 2. So funny, the whole time I was
Massive.
seeing this, I'm like, this looks a lot like Bloodborne, and I've played a bit of Bloodborne. I'm like, is this Bloodborne coming to the Switch? Or is, oh, and then eventually I'm like, oh, this is definitely not Bloodborne. This is Bloodborne 2. And then it's not, but it's a game that looks a hell of a lot like it should be Bloodborne 2. So obviously that's like a weird case where Bloodborne was a PlayStation 4 exclusive game.
Yeah.
Everything else from FromSoft goes to every console. But Switch, somehow Nintendo grabbed another exclusive for From Software. So that's a huge deal. So like I said, looks a lot like Switch, like a Bloodborne 2 kind of game. But there is online multiplayer up to 8 players, so it seems like maybe a little bit different. Obviously with Night Rain, they're doing a more multiplayer-y thing. But yeah, so here you go, a new From Software game. You've obviously delved now, played a shit ton of Elden Ring. What did you think of Dusk Bloods though? Is this selling you?
Um, no, but it's for different reasons. One, like I said, because Elden Ring had just like a different appeal. That's why I got into it. But as I've said before, I don't think I can go back to a From Software game until the twins are like 5. I can't. I need to like that. Those games I need to have my. I still, other than Elden Ring, because there's still stuff I need to go there. That is a very time consuming game, and there's no point in my life right now where it's like I want to be working on a boss for 2 days and still be losing. I want to, the times I want to have games, I want to be playing games. So that's where it's like it's a respect thing where it's like I will come back to this one day once I have more free time. But business side, I couldn't imagine it's because they said something and it wasn't, but they said something where it almost made it sound like this was the last announcement. But then they did a couple like, oh, we got one more.
This is the last game from our third-party partners or something.
Yes,
like that,
so
right?
I think because I was working, I think I had misheard that and just heard last game. So I thought, okay, at like before I heard the exclusive part, I thought, okay, ending on a new From Software game, that's still big. But I thought, oh, that's not massive because like it's going everywhere. But when they said it was exclusive, I could not believe that. I was very surprised. I think if you like these games, you like this genre, I think it hits everything. And yeah, like I said, even for myself, if I was completely free man time, it didn't get my juices going the same way as Elden Ring did. I think the one I most, not just because it's PlayStation, but it would be like, okay, I'd probably go back to Bloodborne, like something like that. Like I said, I want to go maybe more in the past of games that I've heard about before, and now that I have the experience. But this looked like I still need to see a bit more, but it looked, it didn't grab me the same way as Elden Ring, but business wise, I was very surprised it's exclusive. I could not believe that, and I think that's a massive get, and that's where to me that was another sign of they are trying. I don't know what more they're going to do in the future, but that to me is like another move of like, hey, we'd like Nintendo to be your only console, and that's a move where it's like,
Right.
if you have to, it's like what we talked about with like Fallout and Elder Scrolls, all that stuff. Now that's changed where we were now when they got bought, right? Now that might go to PlayStation, but at the time it's like those are franchises that will make people go buy a console, and that is From Software has that rabid fan base, and Elden Ring did just. I'll say doubled, but I'll say tripled because I feel like there's tons of people that were like myself that was their first type of game like that. So I think that this is a massive move and good on them and very impressive. But yeah, it wasn't one that was like, feel like I'm missing out. It didn't have the same aura as Elden Ring did. So who knows? We'll see. But that team produces nothing but quality, so I think it'll just be a hit all around and kind of smart that Elden Ring's on there. Like it's just. Yeah, overall, that it feels again a very un-Nintendo like move. It feels more like you'd see from a PlayStation or Microsoft, where it's just like, oh, they got this game. Like when they would, Spider-Man, we knew because that, but it's like when Wolverine also came, it was like, oh, that's exclusive. Wow, that's a huge get. Like it feels very. I can't remember last time this has happened with Nintendo. This feels very outside of their realm in a good way. So.
Yeah, I think it was really, really smart for them to drop this here and now, even though it's not coming out till 2026, which Nintendo has been more in the realm of like, okay, we mostly try to show things that are coming in the next few months. But I think this was really, really smart because Bloodborne is a lot of people's still favorite From Software game, even like post Elden Ring. People
See
love
all
that
the time
game.
people wanting a follow
Yeah.
up or like a remaster. Like, yeah, I agree with
Yeah,
you.
they want the PS5 version with 60 frames. They want it to come to PC. They want, really just those two things. And like Xbox, I'm sure they also want it too. But,
Of course,
and
yeah.
I think that's why it's so smart for them to do this here, even though it's not till next year. Say the exclusive part, because I think people will be like, look at Bloodborne and say, like, yeah, that game has never come anywhere else. So I need to buy the Switch because, I'm a hardcore From Software fan. It has blood in the title. So obviously they're very close to the vest with like the Bloodborne sequel aspect of it, just like without being copyright infringement, I guess. Because like I think PlayStation like partially or completely owns that IP. I don't know exactly how that works when you have two companies like that. And I know Sony has since like bought, like they own a percent of From Software now too.
Yes,
I think, but
it's
anyway,
a weird situation.
yeah, it's all very confusing. But I think really smart because like people will see exclusive to Switch, and they cannot assume that it's a timed exclusive, right? This might be the only place this game will ever be. And so for those hardcore fans, they might just have to buy a Switch too, and they might be pissed about that. But you know what? It's a fucking savvy business move.
Yeah.
So great get for
And-
Switch. I wonder though, like because I don't know the timing of all this, with Sony being like owning a percent of From Software, like could this be a timed exclusive on Switch, but then it comes to Sony later on, or would Sony like have a say in this, or would they be okay to give that away to Switch as an exclusive? Like I don't know how that stuff works, but once again, that was kind of recently that Sony bought in, or maybe these deals and contracts were already signed before.
Could have been, yeah.
Before Sony even had stake in the company.
Because I will say that even if it's a year, I do think if it comes out that it's a time exclusive, that does hurt the chutzpah of this announcement a little bit.
Yeah.
Because there is tons of people, same way as vice versa for, hey, I only got a Switch, I don't have enough money to buy a console to play Elden Ring. Oh, look, I got Elden Ring, perfect, boom, you're there. There will be people, I know tons, even lately, it's not to the same degree, but because that Indiana Jones PS5 got announced, I've seen multiple people like, oh, I can't wait to buy it here. I'm like, oh, more than I thought it was going to be. So there will be people that will wait. So if that comes out before the game launches, that does hurt a little bit. But if it doesn't, that's great. And it's curious what all that situation is, because I see Bloodborne brought up all the time, especially anytime we get like a PlayStation showcase. It's like I always see like top 3 things people want is that.
Yeah.
And I agree that I saw people, making the comparisons here of the like, the meme of like, oh, you copied my homework sort of thing, even though it's the same company doing it, right? But yeah, that'll be interesting. I hope for their sake it's not timed, because like you said, when people will have to buy a console but not like it, it's like, well, it's to a very lesser degree, but it's like that's what we did with Marvel Ultimate Alliance, right? Like we were like, oh, well, maybe eventually that might come somewhere else, but it didn't.
God, I
don't
hope
think it's
that game
gonna.
gets an upgrade for the Switch too. It won't, but God, how badly do I want 60 frames?
Yes.
Up-res graphics. Throw a couple new characters in there. Oh God, I would love that so much.
Yeah.
I think last point on this is, I believe on the Switch One, the only From Software game on there currently is Dark Souls. They got like the Dark Soul. They had a name for it, kind of how like Elden Ring's called like the Tarnished Edition.
yeah.
They had like a name for it. And so obviously Elden Ring is the big spicy one to put in here, and the new IP, of course. But I think this will be like, I think they'll start backfilling and just dropping Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Armored Core. I think they'll drop all these games on the Switch and just make that like, now that this console's powerful enough to run these things without having to do the Dark Souls one where they'd like tweak the game, whatever, to get it to work there. I think they'll just start dropping all these games on there and make that like just the place to play From Software, or at least to make it feel that way. So, pretty exciting for those fans. Moving on is Kirby Air Riders. So this is a sequel to Kirby Air Ride, a GameCube game. So I wonder if we'll get that on the Nintendo Switch Online service at some point. I would love to see it. But once again, that is a weird case where that game was made by Sakurai, so the creative director of the Smash Bros. Game. And it was the same team as Melee. It was HAL Laboratories that made that game. And it's funny, if you go like look at the Kirby Air Ride like menus and stuff, it looks the exact same as the Melee menu. Like obviously it's like the exact same UI designers and all that. It's funny to go back and see that sort of stuff. A game I've never played though, so I really want to go back and play that. So I hope it does drop on the NSO app there. And yeah, I think this is cool. Because Sakurai, this guy makes mostly Smash Bros, but every once in a while he does something else. He did Kirby Air Ride back in the GameCube era. He did Kid Icarus Uprising on the 3DS. But yeah, since I don't know if that came out after Smash 4. But anyway, for a while, Sakurai's just been crushing it with Smash and hasn't been doing anything else. And so I think it's cool for him to take a break every once in a while. Because also,
Oh
you may
yeah.
forget people, but he is the creator of Kirby. Like, he made that character back in the day, made the first game or two. And now other people have made it. But here he is working on this game. So I think it's pretty cool. Even though I love Sakurai, like, I don't know if this is a day one for me just because, like, how expensive is this game going to be for what it is.
Yes.
But I think it's cool to get this series back. I know this series, it does have a lot of, like, it has that niche audience that loves that game so much. And obviously it's a GameCube classic, one of those ones. So it's cool to see it come back after all these years.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. Funny enough, I think other than the box art, this is a game that I had to be reminded it existed. I can say
Yeah,
the GameCube's in my
fair.
top, but I never played it, never knew anyone that play it. Not saying I'm not a Kirby guy, but like that's definitely a franchise that I have the least amount of experience. If you're talking about like the Smash icon list, like that's probably the one I've played the least of for I don't know whatever reason, right? I think things just pass you by sometimes. So yeah, I again curious what it's priced at, but I agree with you. That's cool. He can take a break, but yeah, it's yeah, cool that it was there. Again, I was also worried this was the last game announcement, but it wasn't. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I guess the last point on this is like it confirmed today that this is the exact same team that Sakurai worked on Smash Ultimate with. So if that team is presumably making the next Smash game, we can expect to like wait a little bit longer.
yeah.
I've always thought though, like maybe Ultimate is when Sakurai steps away from the series. He hasn't like officially said that or anything like that, but I feel like maybe there could be the time when Nintendo gives the reins to someone else. And at some point, I do want to see that. I want to see another creator's take on this iconic franchise. Of course, he is the creator and he's made all these games, so I'd be down to keep him as long as he wants to do it.
Yeah, it's a
Even if I have
tough
some
one.
issues with some of his design, like here and there, but like overall, I'm happy with it. So I don't know. I'm okay. I'm expecting that I'm gonna have to wait a while before I start getting my Smash news on this new console. And I don't know. Like I said, with Smash, like it's only had that one re-release or that virtual console
Mhm.
release. I don't know if we'll get a Smash Ultimate, $10 pack upgrade, whatever Switch 2 version
Yeah.
that adds anything. Like the game already runs at 60 frames. It runs really well. It looks great. I don't know if we need that. And I don't know if they want to add more characters and like make that part of like this $10 upgrade, whatever. I don't know if it's $10. I just assume it's something like
Yeah.
that. So I don't know if Smash Ultimate will get that treatment. So it might just be a while before the next Smash game because of this. But I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm nowhere achieved what that man's done, so I have no reason to speak on his legacy and whatnot. But if I was him, I would just walk off the court with Ultimate, keep it there. I think that's like I don't think like I'm kind of with like I think when we did our top 10 games, I had Melee there, probably still would for my personal one, but it's one of these things where it's like Ultimate is just like the perfect version of what Smash is with every
It's
like
insane.
it's
Insane achievement.
it's a game that shouldn't exist and it does and it's great for him. Like to me, I know you want to do a cast one day, so we still should. But the only reason I'd have him to come back is like you almost like don't redo it from top to bottom, but you start from scratch. And I would say you do like,
Reboot.
no, we're just gonna do a roster of 16 people, and we're gonna refine, do this and that, and change. Like you don't make it about like you have to redo that, and that's where I think there's so much risk in that. That's where it's for him.
Yeah.
I'd say let someone else do that. I'm gonna go off on Ultimate because then no matter what, if that next Smash game is mediocre, oh man, you got Ultimate. So that's a tough thing though. That's a like same thing. Could just be even you're talking about like if he's precious to that franchise, might just still even be hard to hand that off if you're alive, right? To be like, oh, this is your baby in a sense. Like, oh, someone's gonna do it. And if you're seeing, oh, I wouldn't do that, or I wouldn't. That character doesn't fit with who I would put in there, which I've also like. I've had enough issues with some of the Smash field they've put in where it's like, I feel like we've, even some of the Street Fighter characters, it's fun, but it's like, this doesn't fit what I believe Smash was, but he does, and it's his thing, right? So, but that's the thing. He'd have to watch from the side of someone else being like, yeah, I want to put, I don't know, I want to put Master Chief in there. And what if he's like, I don't really like Master Chief as a Smash character. It's like, well, you gave the reins,
Yeah.
you can't say anything. So that's where it's like, that's tough.
Yeah,
I'll
he's
be
always had his
interested.
like his rules, like
Yes.
people have always like, oh, put Spider-Man in there. He's like, no, it has to be like it has to be a character who is a video game character first. So like, it
Right?
just disqualifies people. But like, maybe the new director doesn't care and is like, yeah, I'll fucking put Spider-Man in there. And you know what? I'm down. Put Spider-Man in
Yeah.
Smash Bros.
I'm
don't
down,
see
but like
that.
I said, would he be down? And that's where you have to watch it, and that's where it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah. So there you go. There's Kirby Air Riders. We didn't actually see much gameplay of it, so it's hard to break
No,
down too much
more
more.
cinematic. Yeah.
Just cinematic trailer. But what we did see gameplay of is the second ever 3D Donkey Kong game. The first one since the N64 era. We're finally getting another 3D Donkey Kong game. Donkey Kong Bonanza is coming out July 17th. You know, this is in no way a sequel to Donkey Kong 64. It's just another 3D Donkey Kong game. But yeah, this seems to be, I would imagine, I don't know if it's confirmed, but like this looks like it's the same team that made Mario Odyssey in terms of like the art style of the creatures and the design and the look and the general movement and stuff. It looks like that same team's work. So I think it is that same team that made Mario Odyssey, and they're over here making Donkey Kong Bonanza. So you know, you and me there's not a lot of huge Donkey Kong 64 fans out there, but me and you are two of them. So I think both of us are extremely excited to see our boy in 3D once again.
That's why I can't believe when you said there's nothing to make it a 5-star. How was this not a 5-star? I feel like the past year specifically, we've been talking about how nice it would be. Also,
if Lanky Kong was playable, maybe it would have been a 5-star. But
yeah, and that's a game you said because it has weird stuff that never came up on the classic store, right? The 64.
Yeah, I mean that is a case where like Rare technically owns that game, but like also they put GoldenEye on there, so I don't know what the hell's going on there.
I'm hoping this because I think
and they have Banjo, so like yeah, put Donkey Kong on there, please.
And get Banjo back on Nintendo. You know, like fucking Xbox ain't doing
He's
anything.
in Smash now. Like obviously there's the partnership. Yeah.
So for me, it's one of these things that we talked about this last year. Is that when the Mario Party or Mario movie? No, 2 years ago now. The Mario movie came out, and it just felt like between that, Universal is doing a Donkey Kong Land. Nintendo's I think I think they realized along the way they kind of forgot about Donkey Kong. And to me, he is next to Mario. He is a pillar. I know there's other big franchises. I think now you can argue Zelda, Link, that franchise that's clearly number 2 next to Mario now, right? But at one point it was Donkey Kong, and I think they kind of don't know why they forgot about a couple bad games, couple drumming bongo games, whatever. But I think now, even with, because we had realized this like months ago, I think maybe I was off when I was still on leave and you guys were talking about, but what was interesting was in Mario Kart that Donkey Kong was redesigned to be more of that classic look, and that's the way he looked in the movie, and that's the way he looks in this game. And I think that's legitimately, like, it's not just like me like thinking business or a tinfoil hat. I think it's legitimately of, we want to get Donkey Kong back in the forefront. We want him to be like, if you talk about like how the MCU has the Trinity, right? Or like Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, and DC's like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. I think they want that to be Mario, Link, Link, Zelda, and Donkey Kong. And I think that design is a clear choice if we want to go back to that. And yeah, this for me, this is the only thing I was begging, Dylan. I was begging to see a 2026 because I was like, I do not want to buy this console. I don't want to be tempted right now, please. And not only was it this year, because even fall, I could be like, okay, maybe I can manage. Like I said, we'll talk about price and buying it. There's times where like maybe it's a Christmas present, but when it was July, it's like, oh man, that's tough. But at least I tell myself, go, you know what? I have Death Stranding 2. That's a very massive game. That's going to take a while. I'm putting a lot in that before I know we'll review it before Donkey Kong, but still, that's a game that even after the review, I'm going to want to sink more hours. But if that game is rocking an 85 or higher Metacritic, and we're about, that's going to be a very tough thing for me to sit back and not be playing that. And I don't think I'll throw the money because I think the console's going to be quite a bit, especially at launch in Canada here. But this is one where I just tell myself, okay, stick to your list. There's many great, you still haven't played Odyssey. You still haven't played Tears of Kingdom. There's many great games out there, because Donkey Kong, I've been waiting for a while. So this is a tough pill to swallow, but to me, it looks great. I love just stuff, picking up stuff, throwing it. I love the smash, like, mechanics here where at one point he's in this area and it's like it's all cement and he just smashed through. It looks like a mini Hulk game. Like, this just looks, obviously does not look like that N64 game, and I don't even think that this looks like a complete evolution of that, but it looks like it's something that is completely new but great, and I'm so down for that. I thought for sure when I was seeing the first few seconds, I thought, okay, this is the new Mario game, and whatever it may be, even if I saw monkeys, that could just be a we just did New Donk City, right? What if that's just a sequel,
Yeah,
whatever? So
yeah.
when it was DK himself, I was like, man, I cannot wait. So this game, I really hope it's not a situation where it comes out and people are like, yeah, it's fine. I have faith in them. I think with the rebranded DK, they want to make this a big deal and like it has to be quality. And like I said, I probably won't be playing it this year, but I cannot wait, and I can't wait to see the reviews. But then I'm going to completely not look at anything gameplay. Like, I'm not going to watch the treehouse. I'm not going to watch anything because I don't want to feel that FOMO. I'm going to let people tell me about it, but it's kind of like the Metroid thing. But this, I have more faith in this because that trailer just like, okay, oh, they're doing something different and it look like they're nailing it. Kind of like a Mario game when it comes out with something new, like 3D World, right? It's like, this is fucking weird. This is different, but it looks like they've nailed it. I cannot wait for Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like what you were saying there about like the visual style of him. That was definitely a thing. That's like, yeah, it'd be really weird if they redesigned Donkey Kong for Mario Kart. So that was
Yes.
always the thing. Was like, maybe that 3D Donkey Kong game is coming, or just a 2D Donkey Kong game. But I'm glad that it ended up being the 3D version of it. Random side tangent here: Mario Party Jamboree. Donkey Kong Bonanza, like the word Jamboree, Bonanza, they have a certain ilk to them. Like I feel like we're gonna get like Mario like Hootenanny next or
Yeah.
something. I feel like that's another word I associate.
They're fun
Like,
words.
yeah, these weird, fun, playful words. And then of course it's Bonanza with the pun in there, so it is just perfect.
Yeah.
So I love that. I don't know if you went on the website for this game, but like it is a full on interactive experience where you like scroll the screen
No,
and it like
I
takes you
will.
through this thing, and then eventually like spoilers, it started like scrolling sideways. It's like kind of trippy, so pretty cool. Yeah, I'm really curious about this game because it seems weird, which is good because I think Donkey Kong as a character has always been weird, and like some of the humor and stuff has always been
Mhm.
strange, but also like a little bit dark. And it's like it's not a very bright, colorful, vibrant game. It's like it is colorful, but it's like I don't know, more muted or like more,
And the
I don't
colors
know,
are
darker
deep. I feel like it's like
shades.
even like the purple. It's like a dark
And
purple.
it's trying to be like underground, like in a mine, and you're
Yes.
busting out. So maybe we are gonna get to some like brighter, more colorful areas. But I think that's cool. Question for you is like I couldn't really tell. Is this like fully open world? Is this like open zone in the way like Odyssey's levels are like pretty
I think
massive at
so.
this point?
Yeah. That's how I took it like that, where it's open zone. You'll have like
Okay.
this is the because even some of the features they showed, like I said, the different sets. There's one that was more purple, then there was one that was a bit more orange and yellowy. Like he breaks a wall off. I think it'll be pretty much the layout will be I'll say like 85 to 90% like Odyssey. I think it will just be
Hmm.
that, but with Donkey Kong, obviously different gameplay, different style, but I think they're going to follow that format.
Yeah.
A few changes here and there to make a difference,
Hmm.
but that's what I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I love the destructible environments. It definitely seems like, okay, what can we leverage with like the power of the Switch 2, and like let's make these crazy destructible environments so you can just do some insane stuff. So it seems like they're pushing the console to its limits in a way. It kind of feels like the equivalent of like a Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, in the way that was
Yeah.
like pushing the PS5. So this seems like that, like Mario Kart, cool new features, but it's like it's not gonna push the console in a way that the Switch One couldn't handle. But this feels like it is, other than maybe the load times. But this feels like, oh yeah, this is like really cool, crazy mechanics that Tears of the Kingdom had similar-ish sort of things like this, but this seems like a whole new level. So. Yeah, I think this game looks fantastic. It definitely doesn't look like Donkey Kong 64, and I'm nostalgic for that, and I like that. But I'm okay with it being something new and different. Do you think is Diddy Kong in this game?
Yep.
What do you think? How do you think he's integrated in the game? Like, is he a playable character at some point? Is he
No.
a guy? Do you have to save him? Is he caged up like he is in Donkey Kong 64 before you save him?
Something like that. I think they just want to get the focus on Donkey Kong, reestablish him, and then you can sprinkle in his friends and family. Like I think even King K. Rool could be somewhere around here, but I think they just
Ooh,
want to make it about
interesting.
and maybe there's part of Nintendo that viewed that when there were so many different type of Kongs and whatnot, it maybe devalued Donkey Kong a bit. I don't think so. I think Donkey Kong obviously is still the top 8, but I think they want to get back into you want to fall in love with Donkey Kong before it's the whole crew of Donkey Kong. So I don't think anyone else is playable.
Yeah,
Yeah, really, I don't think so. I think it's a DK game.
yeah, I would agree with that. I think. I don't know, maybe you get like a DLC or you get like a Diddy Kong. You get like a
Yeah,
Diddy Kong level, Diddy Kong Park where he can go around and do his thing, something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
But then it always
yeah.
leaves you options for sequels, right? If this game is a hit, then it's like, well, we don't got to worry about that right now. And the next game can just be, okay, we had Diddy or we had Dixie or,
Hmm.
Chunky or whatever. So, whatever you want to do, I think there's room there. But it's the same way as like Odyssey. That could just be, I think it might come in a different way of like, you do this game, it's a hit, maybe you just do another Donkey Kong type of game. Because in Odyssey, I've never played it, but you don't play as Luigi, right?
Nope, just Mario. And then, well,
And
I
that,
guess Mario, the main mechanic of the game was you chuck Cappy at
of
like a
course, yeah.
frog or like
Yeah.
a Goomba or whatever, and then you play as them, a dinosaur, So you do play as other characters, but not in that same like character select screen sort of way.
So I feel like they might want to get back to the way where it's like you have, Breath of the Wild and whatnot, but then you have that Zelda game. What was Zelda Whispers or something like that? What
Echoes
was
of
it?
Wisdom.
Yeah, things like that. When you get a Mario game, you play as Mario, and then you have to have other games where you could play as Wario, Peach, Toad, Luigi. I think they want to do that with Donkey Kong, where they want to have a mainline Donkey Kong game that every 3 to 5 years, like we expect with the Mario 3D, comes out and it's great, and then we're happy. But then you can still get something with, because the Kong family is huge. You can do something with them. So that's my prediction: is they want to establish this, and then after it'll be a different game. Maybe Diddy by himself or the Kong family or whatever you want to do. Like I'm not sure what you could, but that's my prediction: is if this is successful, you'll see the Kongs again, but maybe doing their own thing, like you kind of get with Mario. So because that just means more for them too. Why put all the Kongs in one game when you can sell Donkey Kong game and then also have the Kongs game, right? Like that's what they do with
Hmm.
the Mario people. So
Yeah, yeah, it's a weird case where so much of the Switch, it was always like, okay, this new game from whatever series is now the best selling in its franchise.
yeah,
Metroid Dread, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Luigi's Mansion 3, like all these games. It was the Switch effect. And since Donkey Kong didn't have a new title, any new game in that series, we didn't really get to see anything like that. But I'm curious what like a Diddy Kong game would have done in
yeah,
that Switch era. And like we'll see how well the Switch 2 sells and how much that momentum continues forward, and if we still get that Switch effect, but for this sequel console as well. And obviously Bonanza, like it's going to be limited on its sales to how many people have a Switch 1 when it comes out. And then obviously when people buy Switch 2s in the future, they can go back and buy this game. It'll already be
yeah,
out at that point. So we'll see. But like, yeah, I wonder what kind of offshoots we get. And like, hopefully it sells tremendously. And then we do get more of those games. Because like Donkey Kong, super underserved character. He deserves so many more
yeah.
games than he gets. It's crazy that he didn't have a new game on the Switch 1 other than like a Tropical Freeze re release. And like Diddy Kong is kind of the same in that way too. Even like, once again, bring it back to Smash Bros. It's insane to me that there's only 3 Donkey Kong characters in Smash.
Yeah.
There should be at least 6 or 7 or 8 at this point. There should be more Donkey Kong characters
15 characters with
than
swords in
Fire
that
Emblem
game.
characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My God. No, and I think you
Yeah.
said a good point where we'll talk about it in a second, but like if this console sells well, I think the fact that, because obviously their launch lineup really, and I'm not counting the whatever world game, it's 2 games, right? And even then it's not. It's just launching with Mario. But I'm going to count, it's July, it's close enough. You're launching with Mario, and then you're launching with Donkey Kong. The rest of them are all just upgrades. It's all games that you could buy right now. Even Metroid, we've confirmed it's going to buy on Switch 1, right? So for that first, and this happens a lot with all consoles that launch nowadays. We always think they have these robust launch lineups. They really don't. They have a few games, then it's just third parties. So if you're just purely like myself, just plays Nintendo for the next year and a half, 2 years, if you're buying a Switch, there might not be too much on there, right? There'll probably be at least one game every quarter to get you there. Could be from software game, whatever, but if it sells well and you're wanting to get steeped in that Nintendo lore or whatnot, that's where the Donkey Kong game could sell, because it's like, well, there's this game available and I'm going to buy it. The same way with honestly the last go around, right? Different because that's Mario, but I think if a game's good and a console's selling, people will buy those kind of first few games over and over. If they don't get the bundle, Cart will have that same effect. Cart's different because it's massive, but still, it's just some people, what they will do is they will buy a Switch, they will buy Kart, they'll buy Donkey Kong, and then not buy another game for 3 years, because that's just
Hmm.
sometimes how games go, especially with families, right? It's like, because right there, we're gonna get into it. That's a lot of money if you buy those 2 games in a console. If you don't get that bundle
Yeah.
and you need more controllers, so that's why some families might be fine with just, you can play Donkey Kong over and play Mario Kart a bunch of times, and that's what it helps to be that early game, because you're there to pick up, right? Where maybe in a year or two, it's like, okay, that's a Christmas present, or hey, that we already spent a lot of money on the Switch. You're gonna have to wait for that game, right? So
Yep. Any other thoughts on Donkey Kong? It actually is like, as much as I'm stoked, I like what we saw here. I do feel like there's a lot more for us to see. So I imagine they would do a direct just for this game, like they have for other games, or at
Yeah.
least we'll get another like summer trailer or something. I feel like there's a little extra sauce that needs to be shown, or maybe they're just hiding things for the game itself. And I'm curious to see what those things are. But I do feel like this trailer left more in like I'm on the edge of my seat kind of way, not in like
Yeah.
what, that's all you got. But I'm just excited to see what else we have in there.
And I agree there is something, so I'll probably walk it back and I will watch a direct, but it'll just be begrudgingly, and I just don't want to be too great because I'll be sitting there. But there is a few questions I would want to see more. So yeah, I probably will watch it. But yeah, July is not that far away. So
Yeah. Okay, that's all the games from this thing. So a lot of games.
yeah.
Lastly, we're just gonna quickly talk through some of the pricing of this and are we buying it? I guess so. Yeah, what we have right now as of April 3rd, we'll see if anything changes. Is that the console itself? There's two versions of it. There's the console, or there's the console plus Mario Kart bundle you can get. So the console itself is going to be $450 or 630 Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
Or if you get the Mario Kart edition, console's 500 USD or 700 Canadian. And then for games are now more expensive now too, generally speaking. Now I'm guessing this is going to be like quite a sliding scale. Like I think Drag Drive, for example, I don't think that'll be an $80 game. That'll probably be less expensive. But for like the first party games, it seems like they're jumping up to 80 US dollars or 112-ish Canadian dollars for like a digital game. And then if you go physical, you're talking 90 USD or 120 Canadian dollars. So that's the pricing. And as we talked about, like nickel and diming for like that tech demo-y thing, or like these upgrades. I don't think we know how much the upgrades are yet for like the Kirby's and the Tears of the Kingdom and stuff like that. Once again, I assume $10, that's what like PS5 and stuff has done, but we don't know that for sure. We'll see how much that ends up being. So yeah, like all that being said, and we've kind of already talked through this, but it sounds like you are definitely not a day one purchaser of this. You're thinking maybe by the end of the year, maybe as a Christmas present, you can kind of swing it that way as like a gift for the kids. But just the pricing is a little too savage for you to just jump in there day one. Hey.
Yeah, exactly. Because I primarily would just be buying it for one game. As I said, I love Mario Kart, but I'm not like dying to play that game, right? And they didn't. Same thing with the From Software game. That's not something that interests me at the current moment. And there's nothing else they also even, and they didn't need to, but they also didn't kind of do like and in the near future, next year, they didn't show like a Smash or something like that, where it's like, okay, that's coming maybe the next few years or so, right? So for me, it's just that, and for me, it's definitely the price. That's a lot of money. Luckily, like I got multiple with this, and I got my day job. There's things people know as podcasts we can write off. So there's all ways you can work around it, that I'm in a better position than many other people that can buy maybe not this for many, many years, right? Like if I wanted to, I could buy this right now, pre-order, but that's not like, I still got to be financially sound. Be like, hey, how much am I going to really use? It's the same way of like the Switch. I didn't buy right away because I bought that once there was enough games like a Marvel Ultimate Alliance and other games where it's like, okay, I'm going to buy this because I got X, Y, and Z. I need it for this, and then I need it for Luigi's Mansion coming around the corner. So that's what I could. And yeah, for well, they're asleep. For Christmas, that's usually more of an option because it's like, one, it's kind of a family gift, and two, as I say in the Discord, we tell our family members all the time, they don't need anything. They have so much toys, so much things that they already don't use. Don't buy them stuff, buy them experiences, and they'll still get stuff. And there's boxes everywhere. I get it. They want to open all the stuff on Christmas. So, and that's like a maybe, and we'll see what the situation is like when even like consoles, right? Because could it be like PlayStation 5 where it was took a while to get? But yeah, for me, it's just the one game console. I 100% understand people that play handheld. I see that. I'm a person that thing has been docked 98% of its life, and it's going to be that way. I'm not going to play handheld, I see, for the foreseeable future. The kids might be more in the future now because they can partner with the Switches and whatnot. But yeah, I'm not going to. I knew the price was going to be an issue when they didn't have it in the thing. I put that in the Discord and the GUI chat right away because it feels very odd. That's like a staple of console releases, is like putting the price at the very end. And when they didn't have it, I'm like, oh, it is not that $399, $350 that people were hoping. Because I know people talk about it's a big jump that the original Switch was 300. Lots has changed since that come out, right? So I get that. And I'm not even saying I think there's stuff like we talk about where there are kind of nickel and dimey where it is feels a little gross. But at the same point, whether it's tariff stuff going on, whether it's just making games, whether it's the industry in general, I imagine Xbox, PlayStation 6, they're probably gonna be similar or more, right? It's just the industry in total. Even stuff like GTA, I think I am that camp where that game is probably going to cost at least $100 or more, and they can do that because that game is going to be how many hours, how big, and they're going to sell,
Mm-hmm.
right? But at the same time, that's going to be make people more cautious. That's going to be make people that if they don't do this for a job or have just nothing but disposable income, those families or people that buy 1 to 2 games a year, maybe just one game, will happen when you have it's a little bit different for me because we do this as a podcast, so I can double justify if I want to play it, but then I can also talk about it, right? Or X, Y, and Z. When you got kids and it's just if someone's like, "Hey, I want to buy this game," and now a game is $120, that's multiple hours of you at work. Like I'm saying as an adult, like that's multiple hours of you putting work, and that's what like me and Emma can go to Costco and a Costco trip, which will be a bunch of food or everything. That'll cost me $400. So you're saying almost half of that could be for a game, or something like that, or a game and a controller. That's nuts. And I'm not saying it's Nintendo's complete fault. It's just the day and age we are in. But that's where I really don't know how this thing is gonna sell and how it's gonna do. And I don't even like I said, it's not like a Nintendo thing. I think this is the price makes sense. It sucks. I wish $3.99 was it. Like obviously that would have been lower for us. But I'm just saying for the American price, I was hoping it was that. It's not that. But I think it's just because the world is in a much different place where of course you have tons of people that have, lots of money and great for them. But I feel like since like I think about an election like since pre-Obama, I don't think I'll say just North America, that'd be America and Canada have been hurting as much economy wise, and I don't think people have as much disposable income. It's hard to get jobs now. It's hard to keep jobs. All this talk of AI replacing jobs, like in the future, are people what they're going to work, how much they're going to pay, and I think that's what I'm very curious. And I'm not gonna make a prediction because I'm the guy that told you the Switch was gonna be a bomb and it's our biggest thing. I remember we got that Switch reveal event and I was like, man, this is not it. And this is just like that's the other thing too. To me, it feels like it is more of a other than the games, an addition for people that have a lot of money and can just, oh, I want the new thing and I want the bigger screen, the big old pixels, everything like that. I need to get it. I don't think they've made the complete jump where you have to get it. So yeah, I don't know how this is gonna go, and that's for all consoles, not just Nintendo. I think it's a lot of we talk about it all the time with movie stuff, like how many movies bomb because people just they're not gonna go pay to see it. Same thing with myself. The approach I'm taking this year is I'm playing games that are like Alan Wake that I got for $10 that I've been wanting to play my whole life. Instead of there's a couple Death Stranding, of course I'm gonna spend the money, but I think more people are gonna be like that, where it's like you know what I can wait a foreseeable time. So I'm very curious how this goes from June to I'll say June to January because I'll be curious to see Christmas sales and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm certainly on the fence right now. I think for me it's like
For day one.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
I'm on the fence. So
Whoa.
I'm considering it because like yeah, the price is pretty savage. Could they do a price drop if it doesn't do well?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like they have done that recent history. The 3DS bombed hard at the release, and then they dropped it by like a pretty significant amount, and then like gave the people who bought it like a little bonus. The people who did buy it beforehand.
Wii U
Uh,
as well too. Like within a year, that thing was getting like $50, 70
right.
to $5 off.
Yeah. So that could happen, but like I don't know. What are they gonna knock $100 off of it or something? Which is like okay, it's not like the hugest difference rather than if I just like got the thing day one. So that's definitely a consideration. It's mostly the game prices are the true
Yes.
savagery of it because like I think given once again how powerful the console itself is, I can see why the cost is justified there. And I think for me like the bundle definitely makes sense. I feel like most bundles I don't really care for whatever it is. Like the bundles that they set up aren't really the ones for me, especially like the early launch title stuff. But for this, it's like, yeah, I would definitely get Mario cart at some point. So like, yeah, the bundle makes sense. So, okay, I save a little bit of money there. At least it feels like I save a little bit of money there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Donkey Kong would be a day one for sure, and then I would just be waiting in the wings for a while, like because I guess I didn't mention this, but like I don't Dusk Blood. I don't like that title, by the way. I don't think that's for me. Like I don't think I'd be buying that.
Yeah.
Metroid Prime, I'm pretty on the fence for it. Would I spend $112 for it? No, definitely not. I would maybe even just get like the Switch One version and just like have this slightly worse version and like save a bunch of money there. And then like I don't know, I'd kind of just wait and see what else comes. But like here's my toxic trait is like at some point there's going to be a Smash Bros game on this console and I will shell out whatever amount of money to play that. And so it's like I might as well get it now and then I can like play that. Like if it weren't for Smash, I probably would not have bought a 3DS or a Wii U. And I bought both those consoles to play Smash, even though it was the same game to play because the 3DS one came out earlier. I pretty much bought a 3DS just to play that a few months before it came out on the Wii U because that is how obsessed I am with Smash as a series, my favorite series of all time. And so, like as we were talking about the Air Riders thing, probably a few years off before a Smash game comes and maybe there's a price drop maybe in that amount of time. But it's like at some point I'm going to get this console anyway. Sure, I could save $100 by waiting 5 years, but like maybe I'll just get it now and like I spend $100 extra now. That's kind of the way I'm justifying it for myself right now because I feel like I do need to justify it because it is a pretty insane price. So I don't know, maybe if I start budgeting now, I can make it affordable in that way. So
yeah,
that's kind of my train of thought with it. But it's definitely, it doesn't feel good to be nickel and dime for these upgrades. It doesn't feel good that they increase the price of the game as well as their most expensive console by a wide margin. So it's a lot to contend with. I think the other side of this though is something that me and Kirkland broke down with the Nintendo Direct from last week is that one of the new features that they have implemented is this digital game card thing, which makes sharing games easier. So obviously you have to be on the same family plan. But like, if Taylor, because Taylor, maybe he would pick this up day one. I could see that being the case. He and I could like get on the same family plan, and then like we could either like just go halfers on Bonanza, and then like split it, and like I could like lend him the game once I'm done with it or something like that. Yeah. Or if I just buy the game, I can just lend it to him, and then he could play it for free, and then he buys Pokemon ZA later, and then he lends it to me through that digital game card thing. And so like that's a nice additional feature like that could help alleviate those really savage prices. Obviously there's a big limitation on that. You both can't play the same game at the same time. You can't like literally split it. You'd have to like go through and like each transfer me like $40, whatever. You'd have to do these extra things, but there is at least that feature there now. And obviously you have to be on the same family plan. It's not perfect, but like, okay, maybe that is a little bit of alleviating the prices, and maybe that's why the prices are as high they are, because they have that feature, and so they got to justify like, okay, a lot of people aren't going to be buying a game because they can just lend it from their friend through our new digital game card thing, so we got to make the prices a bit higher. I hope that's not the case, because I'd rather just like keep the prices where they were before and then like don't have that feature. And then obviously they took the vouchers away. Gold coins are gone now as well, so you're not even getting those values that you used to get for the Switch in the last few years. So it's rough. There's a lot of things here for sure. And yeah, like I don't know, like Bonanza looks good. Does it look $112, $120 good? No, I can't say it does, but it's tricky. But I know Smash is coming. That's my toxic trait. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, no, I get it. That's the same reason I've always had, like, I've owned every Nintendo because there's just certain games that I need, and Smash is like, I didn't play Odyssey, but I knew I had to get Smash at some point. It took me a little longer just because it just always went by, but same with the other one. So no, yeah. I get it.
Yeah,
it's
I guess
tough.
My other thing too is like normally I keep all my consoles. I don't sell my previous one to get the upgrade one, just because I don't know. I like to collect to some extent. I like to have my stuff. But with the Switch, I definitely would get rid of it, because that thing, I hate the Joy-Cons. It, like, a lot of these games run like crap. I can transfer it all over, and it'll just be better experience on the Switch too. There's no reason for me to keep the Switch One, so I'd try and sell that. I don't know how much I can get for a used Switch One, especially because the data transfer stuff, like, you need your Switch One to do that. Yeah. So I'd have to keep the console, sell it afterwards, which, it'll probably have less value after the Switch 2 has come out. But I'll probably do that too. So maybe that's a way I can justify, like, okay, at least I bought myself $150 there. Maybe I can sell off some of the Switch One games that I don't really plan on playing again as well, and maybe that's another way I can kind of sort of justify it. So I don't know, maybe that's working in the calculus a little bit to make that decision, but I'm not decided yet. I don't know what the pre-order. I don't know if the pre-order requires like your credit card at the time, or if you just get on the waiting list kind of thing. I don't know how that would work. I guess you probably do have to put your credit card in at checkout. So I guess I'd kind of have to commit to it. So we'll see. Did you see if they have like a pre-order date yet?
I thought you had to sign up for pre-orders the same day. I don't think it's a pre-order date, but I thought there was like a sign-up thing.
Okay, to get on a wait list sort of thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So look into that, just to give you the option. But yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty rough. Hate to see it. I think once again the console price justified for me. The games, that's a little bit worse for wear, but we'll see what they do. We'll see if it's a sliding scale of prices or if they just make everything that 80 at a minimum.
Yeah.
Like I imagine Mario Kart and Donkey Kong will be, but like
no,
maybe
they're different.
Are they
Donkey
different?
Kong's $10 cheaper than Mario Kart. Yeah, so there already is a different scale going on.
Okay, so yeah, that's kind of strange stuff going on.
It is
there,
strange.
but
I would have thought those would have been the same, but no, it's like whatever it is. It's like if Mario Kart, it's like if Mario Kart's 80, Donkey Kong's 70.
Okay.
Whichever way you get
Okay.
it. So that's where the hope is
That's
that,
nice.
going forward, that could be the case because there's some games we talk about where it's like that should be cheaper price. But I honestly think that could be. It's kind of funny. Again, we talked about the From a Software game. I think everyone, like the joke was whether it be Rockstar, but especially even just Xbox or PlayStation in general. I think everyone thought this was kind of going to be the case with one of them, and it's weird that Nintendo's the first one doing it because many people that are in the industry have theorized, hey, next decade you're going to get like different. We've already seen a little bit, but different pricing of this game costs this game costs that versus how much size is, right? And to see Nintendo being the first one to really play with it on a big scale is crazy because, like I said, I am in the camp that come fall we're going to get a lot of people upset about that GTA price, but they're going to buy it because it's Grand Theft Auto, and then once it's like, to me, it's like 1-2 punch. The Switch thing's happening, and then GTA's happening. 2026, all bets are off for where games could be. We're going to get games that maybe, this is like 30, 40, that's great. And then games like, yep, this is $120 if you want to play. It's like,
We'll see what they do with Kirby Air Ride, just because, like,
yeah.
if you charge $70 or more for that, you're off your rocker. There's no way that game's going to sell, even though it has the Sakurai name on it and, like, the Smash Bros. Team made this game. Like, that would be ridiculous. So yeah, that'll be a really interesting testing ground. Do you think GTA 6 will be a day one Switch 2 game? Is it powerful enough to run GTA 6?
I don't think so.
No?
That feels. I just feel like because I feel like Grand Theft Auto is always not a leap ahead as far as they've done something new because we know what Grand Theft Auto is going to be, but the size of it's always a leap ahead. You're always impressed by the scale and the mass of it, so that'd be impressive. But I don't think so. No, if I had to.
I guess we'll get GTA 5 on the Switch too, probably pretty soon here.
Of course.
Yeah.
They'll put that release day of
that.
GTA 6. We can't play this, but we can play GTA 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think they have that trilogy on Switch.
I think so, yeah.
That janky ass remastered trilogy that they made there.
Yeah.
I think that is everything. Any other thoughts there, Travis?
No, like I said, now we transition to the part that I like is I like just to be cheaper and own it. But the thing that interests me is it's only in June, so we see more layout. And it's not like it was like, like us or like that felt like a general ripple of there was the console, like the conference, and then it was like the price. And that was like a whoa. And I agree with you. We're not on the console. I did see more people talk about the games because that will stack up. So, and that's where I don't think it's going to be the situation. But we've seen that before where we all lived through that ripple of the Xbox Series 1 or whatever it was, the 1X, and it was like, oh, yeah, this is not good. And then when it came time, it's like, oh, that really changed. And it's almost everything nowadays. Like we talk about movies, we just talk about Superman being Dylan on a newscast. Like I can see a world where that makes $1 billion. I can see a movie where that bombs. I can see a world where the Switch 2 does phenomenal and it's just chugging along, all these great things. And then I can see a world where it's like vastly underperforming and it's not like, and not like I said, not just because Nintendo, just because the world is different. Like that's the unfortunate
literally
thing.
100% because of the price and not any other factor.
Yeah. And we're in a situation where now gaming's starting to become more of a, if you want to be up to date, if you want to have the newest stuff, newest game, new console, it's becoming like a one percenter type of goal
Yeah.
thing to have everything, right? It's
Gotta
not
be
like
billionaire.
like yeah, if you want to just have a game now, you can buy PS5, and like I said, there's or fuck an Xbox Games Pass. How many games go on sale? There's so many games out there, but it's like if you want that one thing and you want it now, it's a big luxury ticket, and that's
Mm-hmm.
where we're gonna see what happens, and it's gonna be who knows what happens because PS5 even that started to sell like slower, but then that chugged along, right, and that
Yeah.
sold very well. I don't know where it is in the charts, and Switch might be that situation, or again, that might be that situation. We'll also see the handheld players. There might be tons of families that are like myself that keep that thing docked, and it's like when the kid says, "Hey, I want to Switch 2," well, your Switch 1 works fine. Why do you need this? It's 400 if you're in Canada, $600 to $700. No, thank you, not right now. So it's a lot of things for entertainment to be dealing with. So excited to see what happens. But yeah, hopefully it all goes well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We will keep an eye on this. As
Yeah.
mentioned, there's those 2 Treehouse events, so I'll catch up on those at some point and maybe share some of that on next week's side quest. Then we have the Mario Kart Direct coming out pretty soon here, and then this bad boy's releasing in what is it? What is June?
June 5th.
And we're in April, so April, May, June. So oh my god, 2 months away. That's pretty
It's
coming up pretty quick.
Yeah, it's close.
So yeah, we will check in on this bad boy as we get more and more information. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you Travis for joining me late night for the Plasma Boys tonight.
Yeah.
But a good night
plasma in the morning.
nonetheless. And we will see you again next time. Bye bye.